Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork. It's leaps of logic. It's
don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
Globebusters taking over. Bye-bye, moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Globebusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the space hubble. Piecing up the puzzle. Need to burst your bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down and be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad cause I just fight about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Eros laying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your residence is heaven sent. I hope you settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
Globebusters taking over. Bye-bye, moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Globebusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
Welcome everybody to Globebusters. It is episode number 7 for this 12th season, and it is 11/24/24. If you're watching on a different time, you're watching a replay. If it is the 24th of November 2024, you are watching live. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeran, the most loved flat Earth proponent in the history of flat Earth. That's been confirmed. And we've got some panel members with me. First, we've got Zack Zabala. Good times for all. Zack, what's up, my friend?
How we doing today, Jeran?
Doing fantastic. Really good. And we also got Awesome Witsit. Witsit gets it.
What's up, my brother?
You've ever listened to Ballbusters when the most of the show is just them yelling at each other? Like they fight? they're like fighting with each other. It's hilarious.
They all interrupt each other and you can't hear anything.
It's like, well, I don't really like the way you've been acting today, you know? You haven't been really acting the same. It's like, what is going on over there?
Dating.
Yeah, like in front of everybody. It's just funny. At least we don't have those fights here. It's like, Zack, I don't like the way you're talking to me today, Zack. You want to watch it?
Yeah, dude. At one point I was like, bro, why do you guys not ever get annoyed that every time I'm in here I can't say a sentence? Like, don't you guys find that annoying? And then I sat back for a few minutes because I was muted, and I'm like, oh, you guys do it to each other. Like, you guys don't even let each other talk.
Oh, okay. This is how it is here. All right.
Fun. All right, so we got, we're going to go over the global lies, the lies of the globe, the heliocentric model, because there's a ton of them, and we'll just kind of rattle through them. Maybe you can consider this your little home base for all the lies in one place. But we are going to start with something fun. If you haven't watched Conspiracy Music Guru's newest, we're going to watch that real quick. And it is, for those of us 80s kids, definitely a throwback to Digital Underground and the Humpty Dance, which we all grew up with. We had Neil, or what's his name? Grizzly Neilio, or Neil, yeah, that's his name. He reached out to me and just said he had written lyrics for it, but didn't really know what to do from there. I thought the lyrics were great, passed them to CMG. He loved them. He did it. I made the video, and boom, what do you know? It's ready to go. So we'll watch this, and we'll be right back, and we'll get into the global lies, or the global eyes. There you go. Enjoy.
Cause I'm about to ruin the heliocentric model that you're used to. It looks funny, but NASA's making money, see? So NPCs, I hope you're ready to see. They say it's round, but you can't tell from the ground, and the sun only looks like it's going down. I'll tear up all the evidence you got on your shelf and expose all the proof that I see myself. NASA's grumpy. The first pilot was a monkey. Yo, ladies, why is your hair so frumpy? And all you CGI fanboys, please allow me to trump thee. It's not a fall, y'all. Just like Humpty Dumpty, it's gonna crack like Joe Biden's bad knee. I'm in my prime, a little bit chunky. I'm a junkie. I keep the flat earth funky. I'm done with this. Globe versus flat. The drama so ridiculous, it's getting really hard to be conspicuous. Hey yo, flat girl, you know the globe is gibberish, yeah, you know it's flat, but NASA says it's spinning. But it never caused me to get dizzy, I'm a geek. I love staring at the moon, it's not a dusty ball in an infinite vacuum. I'm pasty, like biscuits and gravy. You hate winter, but it just don't faze me. All your globers do is tap dance, it's a psychopathic romance. NASA trance turns a man into a jump. Don't be a NASA punk, come on, don't be a Jackson chump. Don't flake out, y'all, don't be a NASA punk or a Jackson chump. Yeah, do you know what they're doing? They're doing the contest fun. Don't be a NASA chump, don't be a fanboy punk. Yo, people say the flat earth is really funny looking. That's alright, cause the movement is cooking. You lie, you fib, you constantly take people's money, and it just ain't funny. I'm not a slave bee, so don't you blame me. And the ISS is fake, see? Oh yeah, buddy, you know their motives are weird, cause in 69 the US had their head up their rear. The scam is big. Nuh-uh, they're not ashamed. Big like the Trump card, they still haven't played. They get paid on the daily, you know it's a farce. Drinking what they're pissing and their budget's too large. They're either stupid or their brains are diluted. Anything they've ever done has been disputed. Aimed at the moon one time and y'all missed it. Now you're at the bottom of a pool eating Triscuits. Other images are CGI. It's pretty obvious that all they do is lie. All you have to do is give Nazis a chance, and NASA's gonna do their dance. The NASA trance turns a man into a jump. Don't be a NASA punk, come on, don't be a Jackson chump. Don't flake out, y'all, don't be a NASA punk or a Jackson chump. Yeah, do you know what they're doing? They're doing the contest fun. Don't be a NASA chump, don't be a fanboy punk. Ah yeah, space is fake, y'all. They're laughing in your face, you hear? Ah yeah, now that you know a little bit about NASA, let me tell you a little bit about myself. There's not much to say, check it out. Heard the earth was flat, but I thought he was joking. Crying a bitch and now YouTube is broken. McTooney's just a monkey. In Tennessee, dude, I heard you look like a crack junkie. That's alright, cause you got no devotion. Go join your boy Craig across the ocean. Which you put y'all to shame. It's a psyop, y'all, Hollywood's to blame. No good reason except for the fame. You gotta lie to remain in the game. Jumping, slumping, ducking, screwing around, faking the fun. So when the cyberpunk jumps, make the mental triple jump. Selling flat earth's been true from the jump. The NASA trance turns a man into a jump. Don't be a NASA punk, come on, don't be a Jackson chump. Don't flake out, y'all, don't be a NASA punk or a Jackson chump. Yeah, do you know what they're doing? They're doing the contest fun. Don't be a NASA chump. Watch out, old people, don't be NASA punks. Don't you lose your lunch. Young people, don't fake the funk. Don't be NASA chumps. Canadians, you're actually too darn polite for me to insult. Joe Rogan, are you a NASA punk? Or just a loudmouth chump? Space is stupid. Oh, don't be a NASA punk.
So another excellent job by Conspiracy Music Guru. The guy is talented beyond measure. I don't know how he can just pick out voices, whoever you give him to do. He just comes up with that voice.
Is there anything he can't do?
I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. He did try and make a rap song that he was going to include all the Globebusters in. And then I remember hearing it, and Iru was really, really bad. Dave Weiss was really bad. I was pretty bad. Awesome was pretty bad. I don't even know if Awesome was around back then, but it was not good. Let's just put it that way. So it never hit the airwaves. That's the only thing I know. But it had nothing to do with him. It's just the people that he wanted to sing with him sucked, so he couldn't do it. So that's really good, though. Excellent job. Thank you, Conspiracy Music Guru. If you guys want to support him, please do so. You can go to conspiracymusicguru.com buymeacoffee.com or go to buymeacoffee.com/musicguru and support him and thank him for being part of this community. And we know how that does with your future prospects of businesses. Probably not the best thing. So let's get into the topic. Well, I don't know. I guess Zach didn't know, so I guess that means that probably a lot of people didn't know that we had Austin on with the timcast this week. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can. I'll put the link in the description here. I mean, in the chat. But tell us a little bit about Austin, when that came about. How did what was the schedule? What was the plan? Did you know you were going to be there with Sungenis and what's the other guy's name? Astronomy Live.
So I didn't know about Sungenis until the night before, like midnight. Alex texted me, and then Astronomy Live, I'm the one that found him pretty last minute, actually. So he kind of came in the clutch 3 days before, 4 days before, maybe 5 days actually, Sunday.
So this is Astronomy Live here.
I tried so hard. Yeah.
Is that who's that right there?
His name's Astronomy Live. He's like a.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like somebody in Tim's show. I was like, oh shit, this had to be a hard one.
No, this is Astronomy Live. He's like Red's Rhetoric's buddy. They go and film rockets, and therefore space is real.
Yeah. So he knows how far away the sun is.
Yeah, he
measured the radius of the Earth himself.
Yeah, you made a great point when he was talking about he measured the 23.5 degrees. You're like, wow, no, you mean you assigned something to that because your model calls for it. That's not really proving it.
And like actually shout out to Timcast because they post a clip of each culture war, and they posted a short little clip yesterday, and the actual intro to the clip is that part.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to them.
And I'm actually a fan of Robert Sungenis. If people don't remember, he was probably our first interview on Globebusters. This is way back in the day. Bob and I had him on, and of course he hated flat Earth, but not so much at the time. At the time I don't think he knew enough about it, so he just came to talk to us about geocentrism. But his movie, if you haven't seen the Principle, I say it all the time, it's a must watch to even be in this conversation at all, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I plug his movie all the time. Yeah, and I had Sungenis on my show, and we had a great conversation.
Yeah.
So I went straight up to him when I got there, and I wanted to make sure he remembered who I was.
And did he?
Kind of understand.
Do you remember being on the show?
Once I reminded him some details, yeah. And because I didn't want it to just be like him like really violently opposed to FE when there's so much that the world needs to know about this conversation, and actually everyone's aware, in my opinion, is that the geocentrism aspect is like the first part. Like you need to watch The Principle. You need to even watch Heliosorcery to kind of know the history and the metaphysics behind it. You need to fully familiarize yourself with how that's been lied about, so you can really, grasp the magnitude of this misconception or deception, right? And it answers the question of how could something like this happen. Well, you can go read the physicists yourself and astronomers yourself, and be like, oh, that's how it happened. Like they say, well, yeah, we can't prove it, but we don't want it to be true. Yeah.
Right.
So
we can start there if we want to, because we can, if we're going to be laying out the lies, we can start with the geocentrism point, because there's a lot of lies based on that, starting with, Edwin Hubble. And what I thought that was a great conversation that you guys had on Timcast, basically going through the Edwin Hubble thing, because I think a lot of people just don't recognize what happened there. And even Sungenis just, talks about it in a more practical way than I do. That basically they just, it's not like he looked out, because I heard it yesterday on Craig's show. Somebody said to him, where you were talking about whether or not the universe is expanding, and Craig says, oh no, it is expanding. We prove it every single day. It's like, what do you mean you prove that it's expanding every single day? So ridiculous. We don't even know the universe is expanding. It was chosen to be expanding because it's the only thing that could explain the fact that we were getting observations that we can't disprove that seem to say we're the center. So how do you make it so that you're not the center when everything tells you that you are? Well, you can imagine a balloon, and you could say, well, we put a bunch of dots on a balloon and we started blowing that balloon up. No matter what dot you were on the balloon would see things going away from it. Boom, problem solved. Only thing we need to do is we need to have an expanding balloon being blown up. So how do we do that? Well, we create an expanding universe. So the universe is expanding out, therefore it's being blown up. Therefore, we're just a spot like everything else. But this is not backed by observational evidence. It's just, I don't know if you want to call it conjecture. It's just that was their intended goal. That you can listen to Edwin Hubble say, we have to stay away from the absolute horror of a unique position, which is not science. In science, there's not staying away from something because we don't like it for this reason or that reason. No, you're just following evidence. And he even says the idea of the Earth being at the center cannot be disproven. So that should tell you something. That's a number one. Like, go ahead from there, Austin. If you got anything to add.
No, just watching this, I'm like learning things that I don't need to be doing on the next podcast. Like I need to not talk with my hands so much. I need to stop looking down.
What are you, Italian?
Apparently.
Yes.
I'm like every single thing. I'm just hands. Anyway,
It's a hard thing to not do.
Yeah, it's cool. It's always like the conundrum of not wanting to monopolize the mic and coming off as this like self-absorbed like narcissist that thinks he monopolizes the mic. And then honestly, being the flat earther, you kind of need to, because you have to explain their position usually and then yours, and everyone kind of knows their position on a basic level and no one knows yours other than strawmen. So it's like this weird thing where you have to constantly correct, and then there's all these crafted strawmans and lies and misconceptions and misrepresentations that you have to address. You have to do all that before you even say your position. So yeah, I was trying to not monopolize the mic, but not let too many points go unaddressed, and not talk too fast. So it's just this weird, situation all the time. But I think it went good, man. I think it was.
I thought it went really good.
Pretty edifying. Yeah, I like that it was like not super toxic.
No.
Obviously, I actually knew about it for a while. So shout out to Alex Stein. He set it up. I knew about it for a while. I didn't say anything for obvious reasons. There are super weird, lame, toxic people that are going to try to ruin anything good.
Right.
And so I was overall actually like very satisfied with Astronomy Live. He wasn't super rude or disrespectful on or off the air. I mean, he got a little, took a few little backhanded slights or whatever, but
right.
Yeah, like I think it went good. I think that to any honest person, I think the objective is the most you can hope to accomplish in a situation like that is to make leave the audience with the realization that flat Earth is not just a bunch of really stupid, ignorant people that don't understand basic stuff. It's actually like high level points that really most people don't even know about, much less rebut, So that was the objective. I think that we did that right. I think if anyone watches it, honestly, they'll be like, dang, I didn't realize flat Earth was all this, So.
Yep. And talking about the lies too, I mean, you just see from Craig's video yesterday, Witsit ditches the flat Earth, which isn't at all what happened. He's over there defending it. And he's like, they just have to lie. They have to put that in so people tune in, and then he watches the show, and then, he'll never show you that. There's no ditching the flat Earth just because you're in a
defend the flat
debate.
Earth 3v1 for like the last 40 minutes.
Right.
Are they telling people you guys aren't going, that you turned down the Antarctica trip? Because
some of them say that.
So many comments. Why are you not going to Antarctica? Why did you pass up the Antarctica? It's like,
yeah, they're just.
Do these people watch, like, when these guys talk, or are you just listening to somebody else say?
Mostly people listen to somebody else.
Things about them.
I mean, that's the truth. That's what's going on. Is people just listen to other people, and then that rumor begins and goes for a while, and I don't ever get asked. I don't ever somebody come to me, hey, is this true or is that true? Nope, it's just people buy into it. So what are you gonna do? But anyway, yeah, these guys are jokes. They tell lies the whole time. But also, I mean, this is what you need to realize if you are part of science, so-called, is that when you tell lies, don't be surprised when then nobody believes you anymore. It's that simple, right? I mean, I talk about a lot. We'll bring up this one first, the SpaceX live stream that I still think is, one of the most underrated things that people never bring up. I mean, think about this. We have YouTube, which people can do live streams. We're doing a live stream now. It is physically impossible for us to finish this live stream and then later go in and insert other videos into this video, because that would be essentially changing history, right? You can't do that. And yet on the Falcon Heavy flight, the one where they put the car in space, supposedly, they have changed that live stream. And if you go to YouTube, and this is a big deal because what it does is it essentially destroys all of live streaming as far as having any kind of semblance of being actually live streamed, because it's why would you let a private space agency do something that nobody else has the ability to do? It's impossible. It's literally impossible for me to change my live stream, or for you or anybody else who's on YouTube, except for we have proof that, in fact, SpaceX did that. So that's what, and if you're on Twitter, you can't, sorry, I'm just thinking about two things. When you're on Twitter, you can't change your tweet. So if you tweet, that's it. You can delete it or you can leave it up. There's no option to go in and edit it. Why? Because you're editing history. So then you could say something in a tweet, a bunch of people reply, and then you could go in and edit your tweet and make it look like you didn't say what you said, and it would be very confusing to anybody reading it after, and you could actually set people up that way, right? So you can't allow that. Well, the same thing is true with live streaming. You cannot allow people to go into live streams and change them. And if you're going to allow that, you have to allow it to everybody, and then there's no live streaming anymore. But that really does cause a problem, and that's exactly what they did. I tried forever to get any answer here's the video here. Move. I tried to get any answer of why that would be allowed, and never could get anything. In fact, I would talk to talk to Google, and they would say, "Oh, what you're saying is not possible, sir." I said, "No, I know that. I'm telling you it's not possible, and I'm asking you why SpaceX did it." "Oh, well, it's not possible what you're doing. You can't edit a live stream." Like, dude, how many times have I tell you? Yes, I know the rules and the laws and how it works. So I'm showing you evidence that it was done. So now can you figure out why? They're like, well, that's just not possible. It's not possible what you're saying. So that's their answer. It's not possible to do. So therefore it didn't happen, even though we have evidence and proof. No, proof. I mean, it's not a question anymore. If you look here, if I scroll down here, you'll see streamed 6 years ago, and it would actually say streamed live on date. But it doesn't say anywhere in here anything about edited. Now, if you're on YouTube and I make a comment and I change my comment, do you know what it says? It says edited, because you can't change history. You can't change your comment into something and then not let people know that it's been edited. Well, that's exactly what they let these guys do. This video has been changed. And we've shown it here before. If you go here, you'll see these are two different camera feeds now, and they're not in the original footage, which we have. Smarter Every Day has. You can watch this thing come down. You'll notice that it's coming down, and it's going to go to two separate pads. So you'll notice this one's going to the, let me go back a little bit. Oops, over here. Just pointing it out because it's, pretty weird that this took place and that people have allowed this to happen. So you see this one here, the white with the black in the middle is the other craft, which is this one. So it's going to go to the white with the black in the middle. So there's the white with the black, right? But this one's going to the white with the X. So they're going to different ones. But if you go to the original live stream, it's not that. They've changed it. And then they took this scene. Let me see where it's at here. So this scene here. So you know the part where the car opens up? Let me find it. It's in here somewhere. They have like that David Bowie music. Oh, I remember it was right when they get up to there. Okay, this part here. So watch how this is. Remember, this is supposed to be a live stream. Now watch how this timing is with the music going to play. It's going to be like this pomp and circumstance kind of moment where the crowd's going crazy, and then but this is not what the live stream showed. This is something they edited after. Watch. That's right here. And then the music will start like perfect timing.
Coming up on bearing separation.
Center core side engines on power, also look good.
And pop. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a movie. Do you understand? When the music is perfectly timed with a real life space event with the fairings over. No. This is inserted after. If you watch the original film, there is no scene like this. This scene with the Starman opening up is at the very end of the live stream. They put it at the end of the live stream. Well, then they went back in and edited their live stream by putting it where it goes. Then they changed the final scenes to be different because they had the same one, even though it looks kind of the same there. They are different. I mean, the people don't get that. And this is why I had a problem with Astronomy Live. Because when I made this video, I said, anybody out there that was going to make excuses, and Astronomy Live came into the chat and said, but I was there, I filmed it, I know that it was real, I know that it went to space. I said, dude, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. I'm not saying this proves fakery at all. I'm saying it proves that we have private space agencies able to change live streams. That shouldn't be allowed. How can you not stand up and say that? Well, because I know that they went to space. I was there, I filmed it. Like, were you at every single thing they ever did? No, then it's a problem if they can go in and change live streams. They could essentially, I could be watching a scene and see a scuba diver in space. And if I record it, and okay, great. And if they just change your live stream, then I look like I made it up. I look like I faked it because it's not in the live stream, right? Like if they had something happen in the original live stream that was behind this window, then we would not be able to prove it anymore because we would just have our video versus their video and it's their word against ours. Who's going to win? So that's just peculiar. Just really peculiar that these people don't see the significance here. Really, what it does for me is there's no more, I'll not put any faith in any live stream ever again. because it tells me YouTube can allow somebody to basically, what must have happened is YouTube, I don't know, Elon Musk gave them a video file and said, here, replace the video file with this one. So anyway, in my video, I go through and show you that the rules of YouTube say you cannot ever do that. There's not even the ability to do so. That's what the weird thing is. So anyway, that's just showing you that once you know that, then you realize, okay, well, these guys aren't just some private space agency, right? And now it's even worse because Elon doesn't do live streams on YouTube anymore. He only does them on X. And guess who's in charge of X? It would be in charge of whether or not he can change live streams. Be himself. So of course, got to be watching out for that. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't think people made a big enough deal about. We've never gotten an answer. In fact, I can't say who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they might have a chance to have a conversation maybe with Musk. And they said, well, what would I ask him? And I said, well, the very first thing I would ask him is, how the hell did you do this? Well, why did you change a live stream? If you're all about accountability and everything, why would you change the live stream and not make any mention of it? There's no mention in this whole description of any live stream being changed. It doesn't say edited. It doesn't say edited on. It says streamed live right there. Streamed live on February 6, 2018. That's a lie. This was replaced February 7th or 8th, the video that we're watching now. So that's a problem, but nobody really cares about it. All right. So yeah, the screams of that, the whole thing is just so terrible because, of course, with the crowd cheering and how, it's like perfectly timed. Well, that's because it's been edited. So now we've got actual footage that looks like it's all just perfectly done, right? Oh, the music came in perfectly, but it's not real. It wasn't live streamed like that. So that's why they can't let you do that. Anyway, so we got that one. We basically got the SpaceX lie. I'll just mention again the Stephen Hawking lie, because here's the problem. If you're SpaceX and you lie about a live stream like this, then don't be surprised when people question whether or not you're landing rockets. People act like they're crazy. What do you mean? You're good? That's a crazy thing to think. No, it's not crazy when we have them here lying. And nobody else can lie about their live stream. They did. Do you understand? That there's actually things put in place so you can't lie about history. Yet this company was able to supersede that and do it. So then you know right away that you have to kind of dismiss them and be doubtful of them at all times. Plus, we've got Elon Musk on record saying that in order to get government funding or approval, he had to give 300 government officials full 100% backroom access to his computer systems. So just think about when we're talking about, Austin mentioned it on Timcast, that the Gene Kranz says that the simulations were so good around Apollo era that none of the controllers, nobody sitting at any station, would have known the difference between real data and fake data or simulation data, right? So think about that as the same idea, to where if you give 300 government officials full backroom access to your SpaceX computer system, they could be doing any number of things that would then be portrayed on the screens to people that work there as being real when they could be simulation data. So again, it's just funny that this is a private organization that had to give 300, think of how many 300 people full backroom access to your computer systems. That is weird. So yeah, Elon Musk is a definite piece of work. Definite piece of work. But so the Stephen Hawking is the other one. What I was trying to get at is, if you're a liar or you're going to lie, then you have to expect people to no longer trust you. So science is something that it's taught to us as, oh, there's no lies. No lies at all. It's all unbiased people making decisions and choices. And we know that that's not the case. But if you're Stephen Hawking and you're PBS and somebody comes and says, hey, we're going to do a video, we're going to do a special on the shape of the Earth. We're going to get 3 ordinary people to get the shape of the Earth. Okay, here's the layout. If at any point somebody says something about, well, and on this scene, we're going to fake it, then you are idiots. Because what you're going to do is you're damaging not just whatever you're trying to do, but all of science. Because once you've done that, then people are going to question, like, what is PBS doing? What is Stephen Hawking doing? What is the Discovery Channel doing? Lying to people by using a CGI fake helicopter in a scene to hide behind water. And it's just ridiculous. The thing's so poorly done. They even say, oh, what height are you at? So I can see you now. And the guy's like, 24 feet. First of all, no helicopter says any there's no single digits. Okay, there's not, the dial doesn't say 24 feet. And yet he says 24 feet. Why does he say 24 feet? Well, because the math on 6 miles, 8 inches times a mile squared by 6 would be exactly 24 feet. So all they did was they looked at, okay, what are we doing? 6 miles. All right, it should be 24 feet of hidden. So then when he gets up above 24 feet, say that we see him. But they forgot about the observer height. They've got a telescope on the other end of the water that's 3 feet high. So again, you do the math on the 3 feet high, and it's only 10 feet of supposed curvature rather than the amount that's supposed to be there, 24 feet. So at 10 feet, of course, you could never hide a helicopter behind any water anyway. So the whole thing is just fabrication. And the people involved must have known. And you've got people saying they're scientists when they're not. Well, they say they are not a scientist when they actually are. You've got the other girl works as the head storyteller for NASA Goddard. That's what she does. And they say, oh, 3 ordinary people are going to do this. Anyway,
I don't get that. Why wouldn't they just say, hey, I'm a scientist? You've made videos that you still have up on YouTube.
Right.
With your name.
Right. Hi, I'm Cat
you're using.
Like, can you imagine if somebody gave me a script and it's like, here, Jeran, read this. And it's like, what? I'm not a YouTube creator. It's like, no, I am a YouTube creator. No, but just read that for the show. Be like, I'm not reading this. Why would I read I'm not a YouTube creator if I am a YouTube creator? Oh, we just want to do it for this film. I'd be like, no, I'm not. Why would I do that? Yet they must have given her the script.
I have videos on YouTube, though.
Right. They didn't give her the script that said, I'm not a scientist, and she didn't object to that. Well, actually, excuse me, I am a scientist. Yeah, we just want you to say that, though. I don't think I should, because people can just go on YouTube and find out I am a scientist. So if you're going to lie to people, don't be surprised when people no longer believe you. That's it. It's the boy who cried wolf. This is the problem, is that these guys have cried wolf over and over again. They lie constantly. And then they are surprised when there's flat earthers. Why are you surprised? There should be no surprise when we are pointing out all the lies that your side is telling. By the way, these are lies that your side wouldn't even have noticed. Your side is asleep, it's oblivious to what's going on with Stephen Hawking documentaries. You just buy into it full heart, and you don't ever even looked into it. So if it wasn't for flat earthers being skeptical, you wouldn't have seen the Nat Geo optical illusion. You would have seen the Stephen Hawking fakery. You wouldn't have seen the SpaceX changing their live stream. Like, we're the ones pointing these things out to you because you just would have believed it, which is pretty sad. So the Stephen Hawking's another lie of the globe that just infuriates me. Then you've got the, what is that one? The Nat Geo? Nat Geo is the one where, of course, people remember that one. They use the Nat Geo. I can't just type that. Nat Geo, flat Earth. They use the optical illusion, which, and then they use some guy lying, basically saying,
insist that the world is flat.
Quiet down. So we know this, that girl goes and shows up and they're looking across this water, but we'll just show this again because it's important to show what happened here. Because again, this is one thing that goes out. And how many people have seen this? 6.1 million views. So again, if we tell a lie to our 2,000 views, 2,500 views, if we lied about an experiment, the Globe community would hang us. They would send their audiences over to our channel to just bombard us if we ever faked anything to 2,500 people. Yet when their side fakes it to 6.1 million people, or hundreds of millions, like in Stephen Hawking's case, they can't even say a word. There's no Glober who's ever stood up and said, we shouldn't have faked the Stephen Hawking. They can't even say that. They can't even bring themselves to say that we shouldn't. It's like, well, they had to fake it because it's for space. And they know that it's a sphere, so of course it's okay to fake it. No. Don't ever use lies or fakery or hoaxing to get the truth across. Because why? Well, because if somebody finds out that you lied, then they're not going to believe anything you do. And that's the place that we're in now. So if you look right here, it's going to get there in a second. This board that they took out to the water here at the Salton Sea is an optical illusion. We'll show you here shortly. There you go. So the way that it was painted, for God knows what reason, is you have this black line that kind of you think is in the middle, right? It's just an optical illusion. There's white, red, and white. Oops. And you'll notice below it is just white and red. There is no white. So already you're kind of like, what are they doing that for? So the black line is actually lower than the halfway part. And then they send it out there. And the very first thing they do when it gets out there is say, well, here's their little drawing. This is what will happen. Mark says, you don't think it happened. Okay. So as they get out there, let's listen to this.
The test, it's starting right now. At first, all the stripes are clearly visible.
So she's smart enough to know that all the stripes are clearly visible. We know it goes white, red, white, and then on the bottom, white, red. So she's right, all are...
But sure enough, as the boat reaches the horizon...
So as the boat reaches the horizon, look out here. Do you see, did the boat reach the horizon? No, it's not even close. Not even close by a long shot. So they're just lying by saying when it reached the horizon, that's clearly not the horizon hiding any stripes.
The stripes begin to disappear one by one.
By saying that they disappear one by one would necessitate that two of them disappear. Or else you can't go one by one if it's just one. Let's see.
It's pretty amazing. You can actually see it pretty clearly with this camera here. And you see that the red stripe...
Okay, so you can see here that you've got, again, the white red, which is the bottom. And you're barely missing, what, 6 inches? If you want to give it that, right? If you're looking at this one, it would be about 6 inches missing. See what she says?
That was at the bottom has completely disappeared.
She said it completely disappeared. We don't have any footage of that.
And it's now getting closer to sort of the middle...
It's not even close to the middle.
Green stripe, that is.
So we've lost...
Now listen to what he says.
You just got to say it is really bad. I mean, I know you've pointed it out, but the horizon is there
behind it
the whole time.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, this is back to seeing the whole thing. You can't even say any of this is missing, right? But listen what this guy says. This is, I know who this guy is. He's from the Independent Investigations Group. And here he just either lies outright or is just dumb. Listen to what he says.
That is.
So we've lost about 1.5 stripes.
We've lost 1.5 stripes. What? Where have we lost 1.5 stripes? The bottom stripe is red. You've lost a half stripe, if you've lost anything. And he just says 1.5. Well, so did he fall for the illusion? He thinks that the black line's in the middle?
Right. So this can only happen why?
Can only happen why? So guys, what you're looking at here, according to Nat Geo, can only happen why?
Because of the curvature of the Earth.
That's it. The only reason you can ever lose half of a red stripe out on the water that's not gone over the horizon is because of the curvature of the Earth. I mean, it makes no sense at all. It's just fabrication, optical illusion.
But Mark Sargent and the other flat earthers have a very different
And this just makes me, the worst part about this, it puts into question everything I've ever learned watching a Nat Geo film now.
Right, it's just making things
I used to watch these all the time. And now I question everything. It's like, oh, well, elephants live this long and this and that's like, yeah, that's what I was told by people like Nat Geo. So why would I trust any of that type of information ever again?
I wonder if this Matidi Schitzel, or whatever his name is in the chat, he must be a Glober, or I'm confused. He says, how often are you telling us that story? Really, Jeran, you can do better, I hope. Doing better than what? Pointing out lies of the globe? What do you mean? So if I'm telling you the story too much, it must mean that you're a Glober and you don't want to hear it. Because otherwise, at least if you're a flat earther, you're gathering things for your repertoire. So when these people come at you, you can say, I don't believe in this space lie because of these 47 lies. Why would I believe anything they say? They're lying to us everywhere. So it's not a matter of telling the story too much. It's a matter of repeating it over and over again so people get used to rattling these things off. There's a lot of lies that are important to the whole situation. You can't think about it. How many times has the globe had an opportunity to prove the globe Earth? How many times? So they had the Nat Geo show, they had the Stephen Hawking. So every time that they've had an opportunity, they've faked it. If you don't think that that's important, you're missing everything. How do you not find that important? That every time they've had an opportunity on national TV to do some sort of test or experiment in which they're going to prove the curvature of the Earth, they failed. Now, when they did a movie called Behind the Curve, if you didn't notice, they misrepresented and lied about my experiment. So they're 0 for 3. Are you going to ask how many times I'm going to tell that story too? Because it's just another lie that should tell you that something's up. If you just were out to prove the curvature of the Earth, why would you lie once, number one? And number two, well, why wouldn't you just go prove it? Simple. You have the money, you have the wherewithal, you have the people, you have the clientele, you have the staff. Think about you being PBS. You have plenty of money to go prove what you're stating you're going to prove without having to fake it. These guys, Nat Geo has tons of money. They could easily go out and do a real experiment that proves the curvature of the Earth. They've never done it. The movie company or the Delta V Productions, if they really could prove the curvature of the Earth, they would just make a documentary proving it. They wouldn't need to misrepresent my experiment and lie. So you're starting to see a trend here that should make you go, something's up here. Something's up. Why do they have to keep lying to show their globe model? And so if you think I'm saying that too much, it tells me that you're a glober, because the only people that would stop that from being said, pointing out that the mainstream scientific enterprises lie and hoax to get the truth across, there's no reason to stop somebody from doing that. Let's see, what else do you have? Anything else, Zach, for one that you wrote down?
What about the 24-hour sun video they made and then had to recant on?
That's another thing. And then I saw people talking about it, and they're like, oh yeah, and you guys said it was faked, and then the guy had to go and make another documentary or another podcast to show that it wasn't. It's like, no, but he's the one who he didn't have to edit it like he did. So it's not our fault for pointing out that it's edited and the clouds at the beginning are the same as the clouds at the end. Is that the one that? Oh yeah, I wonder how we could find that one. I wanted to show something about it. It's
it was presented as if it was 24 consecutive hour time lapse of the sun, and it wasn't. And we said, look, it's fake. You can tell and prove it. And then you all gaslit us and said it wasn't fake. We're stupid. It's clearly 24 hours. And they acknowledged that it was in fact spliced. And you would have lied the entire time about it.
Right.
Just like National Geographic.
And you wouldn't have known about
like
it.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know if it wasn't for flat earthers, because you guys are just oblivious to the fact that these people are faking science. You're just buying into it. I don't remember where the one is where the guy says it's 24. You know, where's that one? What is it? The one that is cut? I can't find it.
It used to be at the very top. It's so funny because it's like,
is it this one?
It's that one. Yeah, it's that one.
Oh yeah. So I mean, one of the bigger problems from the beginning of it, he never explained this. He comes out and says here,
it's the middle of summer.
It's the middle of summer.
Time it's just after 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock midnight though.
So he has to show us on his watch. It's just after 12 o'clock midnight. Okay. So if we're about to watch any kind of a time lapse based on the 12 o'clock midnight, watch this mountain. Okay, remember, he just said, it's 12 o'clock, look at my watch. Now watch when the scene starts. Look at this mountain. He's looking at his watch, it's 12 o'clock midnight. Now the mountain is full of snow. So what happened? So the guy coming out and just showing you his watch had no bearing on anything. It was just him saying that. And it has
What logical, truth-seeking person wouldn't be highly suspicious of any claims about 24-hour sun in Antarctica after something like this happens? And
Yeah,
this
why would
was
he
the
do that?
only video everyone posted everywhere.
Yeah, and it wasn't here in 2015, in 2016, when we were looking. That's the problem. People say, well, there is 24-hour footage. No, but there wasn't when we went looking, which is why many people became flat earthers, because there was no footage of that. And if there's no footage of that, and it's something that we think should be present in the globe, and it's not, then there's a reason why people thought that was a big deal. But it's so funny that the mountain goes from no snow to snow. Well, then what did you show us it's 12:30 for? It's weird. It's a different day or something. And then we've shown many times, if you go right about to here, a little back, you can usually see it right here where you got this little cutout. And if we go to the very end, we'll see that the same clouds appear about there. Maybe there. See that? So I just clicked it and it just did the same. It's just the same clouds back a little bit. I just didn't get it right on, but where to be right there. So watch the clouds here as I'm going back to the beginning. Oh, it's a little bit different there. And it was there. So there. And then we go down here to the end, see if we can get it matched up. Right there, I think. So watch when I click that. See, so it's just the same cloud. So they spliced it together. And then again, nobody pointed it out forever. We pointed it out. And then the guy comes out and does a podcast saying, oh, well, we did kind of splice it together. We wanted to make it look like the same. And, he comes up with an excuse for it. Great. But never answered the reason why this guy comes out with his watch and tells us it's 12:30 if it doesn't matter to do with the video at all. So yeah, this is another one of those that is a problem. And let's see what else we got here. I've got a whole bunch over here.
Like a million, right? Like I sent you a video in the Skype. It's about the shadow thing. A lot of them still lie about that one.
Oh yeah.
And I went to Tune's website. I'm like, bro, this is disgusting. It's all lies.
Let me just talk about that one real quick. The compressing of images is, this is why I get so frustrated in this community or in the globe versus flat earth community, because if something gets debunked, then we just all need to realize it, chalk it up, and then go on with our lives. So when you show images of the horizon and then you take them into an image editor and you squish them and they show curve, okay, that's great. You can call that evidence if you want. But as soon as somebody shows that we have a known horizontal line that we put into an image editor and we scrunch it and it shows curve, that negates every bit of evidence of that topic. So it cannot be brought up anymore. Why? Because if we can take a known horizontal line and make it curve, then you can't use curves as evidence of the globe because we just said a known horizontal line. So I did it in my house. I showed you the countertop. I showed you the granite countertop. I showed you the floor. Anything that you put through an image like that, you're going to get curve. What do these guys do? They've never stopped saying that that's evidence. Even though we have proof. I've taken pictures of my computer. You take a straight line, draw it on your computer on a flat screen monitor, take a photo of it, put it into editor and squish it, and it shows curve. So that literally negates all that evidence. And we can't even get to that point. We can't even get these guys to just say, okay, we'll stop using that evidence. Doesn't mean that the Earth's flat. It just means stop using evidence that has been debunked. has been thoroughly debunked.
Yeah, why do you guys have to lie so much?
Yeah, why lie? Just get away with the evidence that's not real evidence. No, they'll still keep pushing it. It's crazy. So yeah,
the other thing is they'll take pictures from a plane.
Right.
And it'll supposedly show some curvature, or like Red's rhetoric actually compressed it from the plane. But then you'll get like the picture I just dropped there where you have this guy's, whatever his name, Branson's space plane as it's gliding back to Earth. So it's like 50 miles up allegedly, and the horizon's completely flat.
This is on a TV.
So it's like,
this one.
Yeah, it's a picture of it on TV. Okay. So it's like, okay, here's a picture allegedly from 50 miles. Showing a completely flat horizon, and you're showing me a picture from 25,000 feet in a plane, telling me that there's like significant, noticeable, visible curvature.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Why are you lying though? Like, why are you lying? You know that you're lying.
So do you see that? You should see that, I think. Yeah. So this is. Let me space this out a little bit. This is the picture you're talking about. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. Sorry. This one. There we go. Now you can see it. That one, right? So you're saying that Branson's space plane is gliding back to Earth. How far up is that?
15 miles, 47 miles.
Right. Yep. And then you had another one here. You were showing me of the. What else did you have?
I think that one's a great. The video I sent you is a great example. You don't have to actually play the video, but you can go through it.
Okay. Is it not the one of you, or is that you? I see a picture.
No, it's like taboo.
Let me see.
It says how this cloud shadow proves the flat Earth. You see that?
Okay, I get it. I'll bring that up. Let me go to.
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead.
So this one is still always said, right? It's always said. It's like when you see the mountain, there's a shadow that looks like it's going up into the sky.
Right.
Right. And so they say like, oh, that's because the sun is going down below the curve of the Earth. That right there. They say that proves the Earth's a globe.
Right.
And that the sun's below the mountain, right? Because it looks like it's going up. Like, so the clouds are above the mountain. So we're seeing clouds at 25,000 feet, whatever, 20,000 feet, and that the shadow's up above it, right?
Right.
And in reality, what that is that there's a shadow being cast on the clouds at or below the peak of the mountain. And then based on your angle, it looks like that, right? Now this video right here proves it because you see it, she loops around and now you see, oh wait, is the sun setting over there behind the mountain?
Whoa.
The only way that the shadow can be going up in the sky is that the sun is going below a ball Earth. Then how come when we flip it around and follow it across the sky, we see the exact same thing on the other side, on the opposite side of the sunset?
So is this also the sun going up here this way?
Right. So it's proof, obviously, that that's based on perspective. And actually, I would go as far as to agree with Taboo here on it. This is actually impossible on a globe because as you come up on the globe, it shouldn't go past half the sky.
Hey, thank you very much.
Because the Earth is dropping down and below it.
$30 from Glenda Safran. Very much. Thank you very much for the supporting us. If you guys want to support us, you can go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/globebusters or use Super Chat. Yeah, I've seen something like this before too. And so you're saying that, well, and I remember reading, I think it was John Abazade. Somebody wrote a book and they said that a great example or test would be if the globe were true, then there would be some house on some mountain somewhere that when the sun rose, the rays of the sun would come in to the window going up and hit the ceiling. But he said nobody's ever seen that actually happen.
Yeah, and this is similar here. What he's pointing out here is like you can't claim both ways. So if you claim that this is because the Earth is below the cloud or the mountain or whatever, or the sun's below it,
right,
then that would mean that you would actually get like an Earth bulge shadow every day at sunrise and sunset.
Right, we would see this.
And you would actually have to. As the sun goes down past the curve of the Earth, the bulge of the Earth, you would actually get a shadow up in the sky. And if you're claiming that that's what this is, right, is the sun's going down below the mountains, casting a shadow up in the sky, then when the sun goes down below the ball Earth, it would cast a whole bulge shadow across the whole sky. Actually, I think it physically would have to do that. How would it not?
It would be every time.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. We never see that, obviously, and it would happen at sunrise and sunset. Now, if you go a little further in the video, what he points out is obviously people go up to top of mountains and they take pictures and videos during sunset because it looks super cool. Well, what you see, like, and if you look right there, that's proof of the perspective, right? The power lines. Like, okay, you see how those power lines look like they're going up?
Right.
They're not though, right? Obviously perspective. But then when you go to the top of the mountain, you see that those shadows are below you, out in front of you.
Right.
Right. And so show us one time that there's a video or picture of a sunset or sunrise on a mountaintop where the shadow's going way above you, and not one exists ever, because that's actually just perspective, right? The sun's moving away, the shadow is being cast by the mountaintop to a mountain or clouds below you. And if you get down below it at a lower vantage point because of perspective, it makes it look like it's going up, like just factually, just like those power lines, right?
Right.
So this is like objectively not true. It is a lie. And so many Globers, they refuse to stop saying it. They keep posting this. They all claim it's a fact. Like now you have no excuse, right? Now that it's just been broken down, for example.
No, they'll keep doing it. Because to them, they feel like if they ever concede one point that the Earth's a flat to them, so they just lie and say everything. It's like Ruhif says that there's never been an observation that doesn't show the globe math or the globe results. It's like never. There's never been one. Nope, never. Well, okay. That sounds like it's truth.
I know some flat earthers are even confused by this because obviously it doesn't look like it's going up, but that's like perspective. So
right.
So now flat earthers should know, like, this is nothing to be afraid of at all. This is a flat earth proof because, first of all, if the Earth was a globe, actually you would go to the top of the mountain at sunset or sunrise. Say sunset, you would see the cloud going up above you, but you don't. You see it going out ahead of you, and with, of course, converging flat horizontal lines.
I'm trying to think, like, you would see this a lot more, wouldn't you? Because any mountain on any horizon would be shadowed like
Exactly. That's the other point. It would happen all the time. It would have to. And it would also have to happen with just the Earth itself. The Earth itself would have to cast a shadow up into the sky.
Right. It's strange.
Yeah, have you ever seen that? Like, so if
No.
you go to the beginning of this video, he actually has like what it would look like.
From here?
So if you just play, just play right there. So you see, this is a depiction of what should happen, right? You should actually see this shadow. That's what should be happening, and this is what it would look like. You would actually have the shadow rise up,
right,
or vice versa, based on sunrise sunset. And like we've never seen.
Has anyone
this
ever?
huge shadow.
Have you ever seen a time lapse of one of those shadows? I've never seen one. I'd like to
on
see a time lapse.
the mountaintops? Yeah,
yeah, that'd be cool to see. You mean you've seen it from above, looking down?
Yeah, they're in these videos, and so you see them from mountain peaks or plains, right? And they're always going out flat or and below the mountain. They're always below the top of the mountain, so they're actually casting a shadow onto the clouds below the mountain. When you get down below it, and this is proof right here. The fact that you can follow the shadow, you can go over your head, see the whole thing, and it comes back down and converges. It's insane to claim that it's because the sun's going below it. The sun is setting in the opposite direction at the same time that you see it, right?
We
all understand, like, there's no way to, you have to just choose to, okay, is the sun setting there at the same time?
Right on the other side.
Right? No, it's perspective. This is actually a perfect explanation again about it's the same thing with crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays, or like looking south, you would see the rotation kind of converge, and if it was spinning, you'd see it spin the other way around a point. And that's actually kind of what this further depiction is that P-Brain has later on in the video, and it actually shows the star trails and it shows the east-west sun rays. So yeah, I don't know. And to just keep it really simple, they claim the sun setting below the mountains, casting a shadow up in the sky, and it proves the Earth's a globe. And that's definitively not true. That's perspective, and you can prove it by going to the top of the mountains, right? It's provably not that with that video and those videos and photos at the beginning. So they should stop saying it, right? That's a lie. And dude, they will swear they will post this as one of their #1 proofs everywhere, all over X. And it's like, this is.
Yeah, because you know why? It's because they know
lie.
that people looking at it who haven't been that it does appear that way, right? So they're just going to keep it. Like, oh, I'll just say it because people who are dumb won't realize it. That we're lying.
Yeah, that means that you're literally a liar.
Yeah, that's what it means. That's exactly what it means.
The next thing here, like for example, I got McToon's website pulled up. He says, Einstein did not debunk or replace Newtonian gravity. He refined gravity. And then he quotes him here. It says, no one must think that Newton's great creation can be overthrown in any real sense by this or by any other theory. His clear and wide ideas will forever retain their significance as the foundation on which our modern conceptions of physics have been built. And he takes that quote, claiming it means that Einstein's saying Newton's theory is true and will always remain true. What it's actually saying is that we cannot pretend that the significance of what he contributed to the conversation, or the foundations of how we have physics conceptions, that can never be undermined, because he moved us forward so significantly with the idea of force equals mass times acceleration, or the mechanics of motion and stuff like that. That it will forever remain a significant contribution that actually we built upon. Yeah, sure, okay, but he is claiming that he didn't replace Newtonian gravity. And then he goes on to say down here, there are not two forms of gravity, there is one. When the velocity of the objects is not significant, and when near a large gravitational body, you just use this basic formula. If you want to use Einstein's field equations for low velocity and not near a large gravitational mass, you can. And he just repeats it again, saying again that there's not two versions of gravity, that there's only one, and that they're both true. Newton said that gravity was a force, and Einstein said it wasn't. And Newton said that an object can only curve if an outside force acts on it, removing it from a straight path. And then Einstein's mechanics says it can go straight and curved at the same time without a force acting on it. Newton said there has to be absolute space for his mechanics. Einstein said there is no absolute space. Newton said there has to be an ether. Einstein said that there is no ether. They're fundamentally different, and they actually have different mathematical predictions, like they have different predictions for the perihelion shift and many other things. So if they're identical, how do they have different mathematical predictions? And they'll just keep repeating that lie. because they know that mass attracting mass is way simpler propaganda to get people to believe. So they can run with this narrative that flat earthers are so stupid, they don't understand basic things. And here's how basic it is. Mass attracts mass. Gravity is a force that pulls you to the globe. Haha, it's so stupid. They don't understand it. They're so stupid. Mass attracts mass. Everyone knows that.
Right,
and it's a lie. Like Newton has been thrown out for so long. Michelson Morley completely got rid of it. And now we're at the point where we're modifying Newtonian dynamics because Einstein's not working. And when I say we, obviously the mainstream. But they'll almost universally, these globe earthers will almost universally claim that Newtonian gravity is correct. It's still true. And it's the same as Einstein. Einstein just went a little further explaining it. And that's not what happened at all. They're fundamentally different, you know? And I've shown even Newton right here where he says, Einstein, I'll read Einstein real fast, where he says that specifically Newton's theory would be wrong if it doesn't account for it. So he says right here, so Newton assumed that and he's actually wrong about this, but it doesn't matter. So I don't want to read all of it because it's kind of a lot, but could not be treated. So already Newton viewed this as proof that the rotation of K prime had to be considered as absolute and that K prime could not then be treated as the resting frame K. Yet, as Ernst Mach has shown, this argument is not sound. One need not view the existence of such centrifugal forces as originating from the motion of K prime. One could just as well account for them as resulting from the average rotational effect of distant, detectable masses as evidenced in the vicinity of K prime, whereby K prime is treated as being at rest, the Earth. K prime is the Earth in this scenario. He says, if Newtonian mechanics disallows such a view, then this could very well be the foundation for the defects of that theory.
Huh.
So he's just point blank saying, right? He's point blank saying that Newton's wrong. Now, in reality, actually, he doesn't even understand Newton because Newton actually says in the final page of the Principia, which Einstein probably didn't even see because it was removed.
Is that the one that was removed?
Yeah, and he just straight up says, like, no, actually, equal and opposite. So he basically validates Ernst Mach. But so yeah, anyway.
And I haven't been to school for a while, but are they still teaching mass attracts mass?
To children, probably.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, to the concepts in school. And this is another thing. This is more of a personal thing, right? But I'm McToon here. What's its citations? Just watching What's its citations on Discord servers, he constantly cites things that debunk stationary flat Earth. This one confirms that the rotation of the Earth affects weight based on latitude. And he takes these screenshots of me citing different articles or different sources, right? This one here is like, by calculating centrifugal forces have proved the consequent diminution of the weight of the surface of a sphere was not great enough to explain the phenomenon, that therefore the Earth must be a spheroid flattened at the poles. He goes into Discord, searches my name up because he's super creepy and weird. And he goes, looks at everything I've ever posted frequently, takes these screenshots. Well, now the context is I'm having a conversation with someone that's a globe earther, and he's making improper claims about the model and how it affects weight based on latitude. He doesn't understand the basic concept of how it actually works. So I then have to go get sources for him to show him his own model. That's what these are for. He takes a little screenshot of that, posts it at the top of his Witsit citations, debunking himself on his website. No context of anything. He doesn't even know. He wasn't there, right? He just goes and takes a screenshot. And literally, it's actually me correcting a Glober because they don't understand the model. Because how am I supposed to debate you about how we can disprove it if you don't even know what it is? That's that's like a personal thing, right? But that's a lie. Like, or how they say, like, all flat Earth citations debunk them when we actually invoke them to correct the Glober, right? Who doesn't understand their own model. We have to show them their own sources before we can even debate it. So anyway, there's a few. Everything on this freaking thing here that I'm looking at. Last one I'll say. The Bible says the Earth is spherical.
I know.
What the? Are you kidding me, bro? And he just lies about the Bible for.
And then
he
found like one verse in like one Bible version that says sphere, even though there's thousands that don't. The one that does.
And the actual languages don't.
Right.
And then he says here he uses that. It says he's using the one that says it's like a circle.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But anyway,
terrible.
So yeah, it's just. There's a ton of them, obviously, but those get more into like he's like extra dishonest about everything. So now we got into the weeds a bit. Where it's like,
well, no, I mean I've said it before. I mean I watched a show where Austin basically asked him, did you lie about me in a chat? Basically, I was saying that you muted me. You were saying that you didn't, but you knew you did mute me. Didn't you do that? And then he admits it. He's like, yeah, okay, I did it. Are you happy now? I did it. Let's move on. He's like, okay, I'm just saying that you point out that I lie, and you're saying, and he's like, stop gaslighting me, Austin. And I was like, dude, if somebody points out that you're lying, that's not gaslighting. That's called pointing out that you're lying. That's completely different. Yet what he did when Witsit was in the chat and he was telling people that he didn't mute him, and Witsit's in the chat saying, yes, you did. And he's like, no, I didn't. Knowing that he did, that is a lie. That is gaslighting. So the guy's just reversing everything. So he's gaslighting Witsit and lying about him. And then he's trying to turn that and say, Witsit, stop gaslighting me. Even though it's like, no, he's just pointing out your lies, dude. Knock it off. And he never could have, he couldn't even apologize. He's supposed to be a Christian. And you gave him numerous times on that on his show to just apologize. He couldn't do it. In fact, he had to go in the chat and call you a narcissist during that time.
Yeah. Flip it on me or whatever. And that's like from years ago. He still just won't do it.
Yeah,
and,
won't do it.
But this is even outside of that, like, they also, because they all say the same stuff. They all lie about the tests that show the Earth is stationary, right? Like they lie about Michelson-Morley. They say it just disproved the ether, and it had nothing to do with the motion of the Earth.
Right.
Literally in the title of the paper, it says the orbit of Earth, the orbital motion of Earth. And in the actual equations they use to get the prediction of the fringe shift and then to measure it or calculate it, they use the velocity of Earth. It's like specifically about that.
I want to
or
find
Aries failure. They lie about Aries failure, and they say it's just about the ether, which is what that guy tried to do.
Yeah, where can I
show.
find that? That was about like halfway through. I'm trying to find.
It was pretty early on.
Oh, it was early. Because I think that'd be good to listen to. It's just good because, again, with Aries failure, which everyone's pointed out, he's confused about it, and he had to double speak about it because it's right here. I can tell he's doing the light down. Let me see.
Right? It's not going to go.
The Earth is still
is because the Earth is moving, but when it hits, depending on which time of year you're looking at.
Yeah, we'll go right about there. So the conversation has gone to talk about Aries failure.
It's a little bit more.
Just
because that's right after. Yeah.
Watch the Rogan episode. I told him no. I said it doesn't work.
Okay.
That
because you have to hear my argument.
How about here?
And I mean, obviously, I guess we'll just listen to him lie. This is a good example. But we'll just listen to him lie about the test.
Right.
And it's what Wikipedia says. It's a lie.
It is the most open science there is.
There's no astronomical observation that proves heliocentrism. It all works from a stationary Earth. But I don't want the point to get lost. I don't want the point to get lost. You just went on a long time, and you just said what we can read in Wikipedia. The problem with it is, if what Wikipedia is showing is a lie, and you can prove it by going and reading the papers and looking at Aries' actual documents. Have you done that?
I have, and it says that it had a profound impact on the undulating theory of light.
Okay,
because ether was necessary for that lateral motion of the photon.
You've said that 4 times. Now
that's what his paper said.
Okay, now I'm going to point out why you're wrong. So you actually claimed, just so for the audience to understand, you have to look at a star with a telescope, and to keep the star in the center of your telescope, you have to tilt it, because it comes in at an angle. So the analogy he used is a good one. It's like rain. If it's raining straight down, but you run through it, even though the rain's falling straight down, it's going to look like it's coming in at an angle. And if you run faster, the angle is going to increase, right? So the idea is the Earth is moving around the sun, making the star look like it's coming in at an angle because of the orbital velocity of the Earth. Now, he claimed at the beginning that's why we have stellar aberration, because of orbital velocity. We had nothing to do with ether. You claimed that it comes at an angle because of orbital velocity. What he pointed out was, well, wait, if water is going to slow down the light, that's going to increase the amount of time it takes for the light to get through the telescope. It would be like speeding up in the rain. So it should actually increase the angle.
Pause.
It did not.
It
has nothing to do.
Technically, it would be more like slowing down the rain. Right. Yeah.
You mean if you're putting in water, then the starlight's going to come in and slow down when it hits the water.
Yeah, so like in the analogy where the rain's falling straight down and you're running through it, and I swear he must have watched my recent episode. I swear he did. That's how he's using my analogy. But anyway, it's like you run through the rain, it comes in at an angle, and then in this test, it would be like slowing down the rate that the rain's falling, and you keep running the same speed. So since it's slowing down and you keep running, now you're running faster in relation to the rain because it's slowed down. So the angle will be greater, right? So like, and does that make sense to you? Like if the rain's falling straight down, I just want to find a way to make everyone get this.
Okay.
If the rain's falling straight down, if you run through it, it'll look like it's coming in at an angle, even though it's actually falling straight down.
Right.
So if you see the rain falling at an angle, you have 2 options, right? Is A, well, you're running through it and it's just an illusion that it's coming in at an angle because you're moving.
Right.
Or of course, the other obvious explanation is that it's actually coming in at an angle.
Correct.
Like, for example, if the clouds were moving while it was raining.
Right.
Okay. So they're saying that it looks like now it feels like we're just standing still and we see the rain coming in at an angle.
Right.
But actually, the rain's coming in straight, and we're moving and can't tell.
Right.
And we're saying, oh no, or that's not the case. So,
And the other option would be
we-
that the sky is moving, causing the angles, the light's coming in at an angle.
exactly, the stars are moving themselves. So then, yeah, we can because you'll just hear what he says here.
There we go.
Thing to do with ether. The fact that it may also have an implication, sure, because either light's in a medium or it's not. The test isn't about the ether. The test is about actually isolating the causal mechanism of stellar aberration. So my question is, if you're claiming that it does tilt because of the orbital velocity initially, you claimed that was the cause of stellar aberration, why didn't it change when you increased the amount of time it took the light to get through the telescope?
Because the water slows it down on all axes.
Now, real quick, can you define stellar aberration for those that don't know?
So stellar aberration is what I was talking about with how the rain, if you're running in the rain, you got to tilt your umbrella down. But it could also be the wind is blowing the rain at you, and that's why you have to tilt your umbrella down. But regardless of that, the idea is the stellar light, the light of the star, is deflected either due to our motion around the sun, or if you want to believe the sun's motion and the universe's motion around us. But it's that relative motion that's causing it to deflect. And so depending on what time of year you look at a star, it's going to be in a very slightly different place. It's about 20 arc seconds different depending on which time of year you're looking at the star.
That's the aberration, just to make it clear.
That's the basic aberration. So that's stellar aberration in a nutshell. Now, what Austin is suggesting is that we should see a different deflection, even without ether, that we would see a different amount of deflection if we slow the light down in water before it reaches the end of the telescope. But the problem with that is that it suggests that water would have some way of knowing that, this
part made no sense
towards
to
the
me.
bottom of the telescope, I'm going to slow it down that direction, but I'm not going to have an impact on the lateral motion due to Earth moving. No, that doesn't work that way. It's going to slow it down, and it will still reach the bottom of the telescope in the same angle that it came into the telescope on, and that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so let's make sure that makes literally no sense. It is, if the Earth is moving underneath the starlight, as it goes through the water, it's going to slow down. Now the Earth has moved further underneath the star than if it had gone through without the water, because now it's taking the starlight longer to get to you. The Earth is going to keep supposedly moving 67,000 miles per hour. That means it's going to have a greater angle. There is no even mainstream academic rebuttal to this. So your hand wave dismissal claiming that I'm invoking the sentience of water doesn't even make any sense. So you've been patently wrong.
It's not a hand wave dismissal, and you're assuming. See, your description of it there has an implicit assumption that because Earth keeps moving, that the light will have a greater deflection in the water. That would imply that this inherent motion caused by Earth's motion, this stellar aberration, has some way of still manifesting differentially from the.
I mean, what sense does that make? Think of what we know about light refraction when it hits water. Like, nobody's ever said that, well, when it hits water, because it hits it uniformly, that it doesn't actually do anything to it. It just, because it doesn't know whether it's lateral. No, what are you talking about? The direction that the light is coming in. So if it's coming in at this angle.
Yeah, nobody's saying it's sentient. Like, it gets to choose which way it's going to.
No, the light's coming in a direction. It's coming in the top of the telescope. So it's got to go from the top to the bottom. That's the direction that the light goes. So he's like, but how's it make a
Dude,
difference?
he said the water has to somehow know.
Like, what do you mean?
It's like, but I pointed out here in a second, and then he just like keeps repeating it.
But the water does know. The water knows which direction the light came in. If it comes in from the top, then that's what's slowing down the light that's traveling down. It's like so weird that he would say, how does it know the difference between moving laterally?
Based on the prediction, it should have like ran out of the telescope. Like you shouldn't have been able to even get it to come to the telescope.
Should have hit the side, right? Should, if anything.
Yeah, it should hit the side before it got to you.
Downward motion of the photon down the telescope tube. It doesn't have any way of doing that.
That's what you claimed. You claimed the reason it came in at an angle was the Earth was moving.
The reason it came in at an angle is because the Earth is moving. But when it hits the water, it slows down, but it slows down equally in all directions. That means the angle through the telescope is still the same, and it's still.
What does that mean?
But but it doesn't slow the Earth down.
Reaches the bottom of the telescope.
What makes a difference whether it's going lateral?
Why do that's my point. It doesn't.
Robert was so confused. I talked to him about this after the show. He was like, "Dude, thank you for dealing with that. I have no
I love that he
idea."
said he just right before they just sat back and just said, "This makes no sense."
Well, it's
okay, so then why are you adding that in there? Then you keep saying that
because Austin's description implies that it's only going to slow down as far as how far vertically it's coming down. Imagine the stars right above you. How slow it's coming down the telescope, right? Vertically. But in order for it to have a different angle of deflection due to the water, it has to continue to move at the same rate laterally that it did when it entered the telescope. But that requires ether. Because if it doesn't, if the
Why?
ether isn't
Why?
there, because if the ether is not there to entrain it, then there's nothing to cause it to deflect.
Yeah, the
at a
moving Earth.
different
He's
angle
making
as it
stuff
comes
up.
down
Pause.
the
Pause.
wall.
Pause.
Yeah, he is
pause,
making
pause.
stuff up.
You can look at if you look at his body language. He's like, "Damn, I was not prepared for Aries failure." You know, like
He's grasping.
he is making stuff up as he's talking because he's like, if there's nothing to entrain it, then there's nothing to deflect. Then how come it got deflected in the first place?
Right.
If there's no ether, and you're claiming we know it gets deflected, you're claiming it's getting deflected
Because of
the
the
Earth is
yeah.
moving underneath it.
Doesn't make any sense.
So it's like
So
at
it will
first it does it, and then it stops doing it once we introduce the water.
Well, when he
because
doesn't,
that
when he
would
doesn't
mean-
want it to happen, it doesn't happen. It only happens when
that
you
doesn't
need it to
match our
happen.
reaction.
Yeah.
It'll simply slow
You need
down.
sentient water.
It's like all yeah, exactly. I was gonna say all observations match the globe, but this is why.
Along its velocity vector, which in this case, my example, is vertical, it'll just slow down, right? It's not going to go.
The Earth is still
laterally.
moving.
Earth is moving, right?
The Earth is still moving underneath it.
Right, the
You're
Earth is still moving.
contradicting yourself. You're claiming it causes an angle change because of the Earth moving underneath it, and then you're turning around and claiming that the Earth moving underneath it wouldn't cause a angle change.
I'm not claiming an angle change during the water transit, though. You're
You
claiming
can't pick and choose. Either it's causing it or it's not causing it. And there's no mainstream academic
this is
rebuttal to
the
this.
explanation, though. It's
Oh.
already angled when it enters the telescope tube, right? It's not going to suddenly change angle because water's slowing it down. Because water's slowing it down in all directions.
Because
So
you say
can't
so.
have an
That's
angle
exactly
change
what it
unless
does.
something is entraining it, which would be ether.
We can move on. I think.
Okay, yeah, we can move on from
What
this.
is he
But Tim, I
talking
want you to
about
pull up Warner
entraining
von
it?
Braun's tombstone.
He's saying that
Yeah,
if the
like
ether carried the
carrying
light,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, like, that is what I think is happening. Is I think that the light is coming to us, and there's this, like everything's rotating around the Earth, and there is an ether, right? And so, like, the ether's rotating as well. So as the light, is being perceived, people call it travel, so we'll use it, right? Like as it's coming to us through that ether, the ether is still moving, right? So it causes a deflection because there's distance between us and the star, right? And therefore there's time involved, and so there is movement relative to a stationary Earth that caused the deflection. So when we added the water, it did slightly change. That's the part we didn't even get to. Like a real debate should be like just about Aries failure, and it should be 1v1 and moderated, right? Like that's like how these debates should go. Because really, I knew that we just had to like kind of scattergun points, but you see what I'm saying? Like there actually was a slight movement, and actually they would have had to claim it basically went the wrong way somehow. So they did the same thing they did with Michelson Moore. They said, "Oh, it didn't change at all," when technically it did slightly change.
Very little,
right?
yeah.
So it's actually worse for them that it does change. But like in Michelson Moore, they're like, "Oh, well, time slows down and the distance changes, so it's actually zero. You can't detect the motion of the Earth." But then we actually do detect some motion, so it's like, "Oh, well, that's just instrumental error." Now with Aries failure, they don't even have like slowing down time doesn't help you in Aries failure, right?
No.
So yeah, so it's like a major problem, and that's why I keep saying, because I'm just telling the truth. Like there is no mainstream academic. We've looked for it. Trust me, Alan, Shane, Toby, we looked, bro. We
Right.
looked. Doesn't exist.
To people in the chat, I see people spiraling in the chat. If you have a question for us, put at Globebusters. We'll answer you. People are like, if you don't have a wrench, nobody pays attention to your chat, to your comments. We will look at it. Just go ahead and put at Globebusters if you got a question for us. I see, who's this now? Juan Antonio something says something about this channel. Hold on, move this out of the way. Shoot, what's its little box?
I'm a flat earther, but this channel completely changed up. Is this a club or a cult now? WTF?
What? What about it as a club or cult? Because we're going through.
What are you talking about?
Things that doesn't make sense. It's neither a club nor a cult. In fact, we disagree on a lot of things, and we hash those out. So we come to conclusion that it's okay if people believe different things. I know the whole truther world is falling apart when that happens, but you have to think, if we all believe the same thing, what a waste of life it would be. We would need one item on a menu, one TV channel, one radio station. That would be insane. So everybody's going to have different opinions, different likes, different wants, different beliefs about things. And so to get, I think what happens with the truther world is that people feel once they become a truther that they know everything. So then they know everything. And so if you don't know exactly what they know, then you're a shill because you don't know everything like they do. Even though truthers change their opinions every month about everything, they still feel like demonizing other people for not believing the same as them, rather than recognizing that in a truth movement, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be tripping over lies constantly. So it would make sense to not go after people for having different beliefs.
Oh, this guy's just a troll. Like I'm reading up. He hasn't
does he
said
say?
anything that anyone would be addressing or anything. He just says this way early on. He said, this is not a cult. This is not a cult or something. And then he said nothing. We haven't really responded to many of the chats at all. Right.
Here we go. Here's somebody. Globebusters, how do you explain the moon orbiting eastward in reality and in comparison to the AMAP? What? The moon orbits to the west, just like the sun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, you're claiming something that the globe has. And by the way, I keep bringing this up. No Globers got back to me. I want somebody to find some writing to where the decision was made, or at least acknowledged, that they would have to move the moon when they went from geocentrism to heliocentrism. They like, it's completely glossed over in history, because it would have been a big deal in the fact that they would have believed in geocentrism that the moon orbited the Earth to the west, just like the sun. That's what we observe. So that's what they would see. When they switched over to heliocentrism, they would have had a moment where they said, oh shit, the moon is actually going the other direction and orbits once a month. But there's no mention of that. Find me a mention of them in the transition. They didn't question that. Nobody said, oh, we know we've taught this, but it's actually this. Because they would have had to change the actual direction of the moon, the orbiting direction. Imagine how much that would cause problems with their eclipses and everything. It just would have been different. But we don't find any writing of that. It's why I think it's piecemeal. It's like the story of the history of the moon and the sun and that distances are made up. They're just not, they didn't really happen in the order that we're told. Because we're told, again, we're told Copernicus, he is on his deathbed when he released his book, but yet he was 10 years before that preaching in front of popes and bishops about heliocentrism. So that's just another lie. That Galileo got jailed because of it, this head, church versus science, but really he got put on house arrest and allowed to live in a castle, and he was blind, so he couldn't go anywhere anyways, blind. So these things are just more lies of that system that they have to tell us. The Aristophanes, and he figured out the circumference of the Earth in 275 BC, but then the first globe doesn't show up until 1492, which is 1750 years. Can you imagine knowing for 1750 years that the Earth is a ball, but nobody said let's map it on a ball? This is insane. It just doesn't work that way. Columbus sails the ocean blue in 1492. He barely went a little distance and thought he would hit India. So what happened? I thought that Aristophanes figured out the circumference of the Earth. So what, Columbus wasn't privy to that information? Because it basically seems like Columbus thought the Earth was about half the size that they say it is. So clearly he just disregarded Aristophanes when it's the great and wonderful proof and the measurement. How did this just get lost in 1492? So there's all these little lies about the history. But anyway, so how do we explain it? That this moon goes around the Earth in 24 hours and 50 minutes. And you can actually multiply that out, and it comes out to 353 exact moon days a year, because the moon's 24 hours, 50 minutes. So that's the explanation. Sorry, let me see what we got here. Just see a couple more. Make sure you hit Globebusters. I'll get to these. We got, this person says, if we all, like 100, had powerful enough lasers to point moon, could we calculate things from that? No. Your laser is going to go about 4 or 5 miles at the most. So I don't know how many, if you're going to try and get to the moon that they say is 238,000 miles away. No, you need one of these crazy multi-million-dollar lasers that they supposedly use, where they send up 4 quadrillion photons, they say, and then they look for one to come back. You heard me right. They send 4 quadrillion to the moon, and they look for one to come back, and then they claim that's the distance or whatever. It's ridiculous. Atheist Flat Earther says, and Witsa gets it, I have been on the theory that there is many suns and moons over a flat Earth, and that we are 6-sided with other realms borders ours. Okay, 6-sided. And what do you, shouldn't there be evidence of many suns and many moons? I've been on the theory that there is many suns and moons over the flat Earth. Well, there can't be many above the Earth that we are on, because we've never seen that. We've never seen 2 moons. We've seen 1 moon, and we've seen 1 sun. Sometimes there's a second sun, but it's always very near the first sun. It looks like behind it, like it could be a projection or a source sun, but it's never been like, oh, there's a sun there and over there's a sun. Now, you might get sundogs and things like that have a bright spot, but if you zoomed into that with a telescope or camera, you're not going to see the sun. There's no item there with sunspots. So
yeah, there's 4 lasers on Earth, supposedly, that can hit the moon.
Did it say
strong enough?
Did it say
2 in the United States, 1 in Italy, and 1 in Germany.
I wonder what the cost is.
Let me address why do people say they can measure moon's distance with a ham radio? So what they'll all say, like this is what all the Globers will say. We know how far away the moon is. We can just shoot radio. We can bounce radio waves off the moon. Mm-hmm. Literally anyone can do it. You can just go in your own backyard and do it with a ham radio. I've done it.
And-
If someone
and
even will
obviously-
say that they've done it, I'm like, all right, cool, man. What was your results, bro? You
Right.
know, and they're like 238,000 miles. I'm like, oh, how long did it take the signal to get there? And they won't know the answer.
Right, because
and they're all lying.
Right, because you're shooting at number one. If you were shooting it from Earth, you're shooting it through atmosphere, which is going to slow down the speed of light. And then it's got to bounce off the moon. And it's got to come back, which is going to get through some atmosphere or some. What is the ionosphere charged at that time? Is it not? What is it? Overcast? Is it foggy? Is it
Right.
rainy? All that's going to change the speed of the light that comes back. So you can't just say, "Oh, we shot it. Well, it would be different every time." Number one, you wouldn't get the same thing every time. And then for them to
And
say,
don't you need?
Go ahead.
Don't you need a really powerful transmitter to actually get out into space? Doesn't it have to be like
Yeah.
above a certain threshold,
Oh, I think so. Bob said it before.
or else
so
it just
that's what-
bounces back and forth on the ionosphere? Yeah,
Right.
I forget.
I don't know what the power was, but it was clearly that nobody has that kind of power. But
Yeah,
but
you have
they
to be a
claimed
big
it.
transmitting station.
Right. So I've
And
seen
also,
the,
there's also this part of it, right? So it's like they'll never tell you exactly what frequency they use, but normally they'll say, or I think that the official answer is like 144, like 144 megahertz. And I'm like, oh, because I thought that frequency, whenever we send signals out, thousands of miles on the Earth, all of a sudden that signal's bouncing off the ionosphere. But when you choose to shoot it up at the moon, all of a sudden it goes directly through it, no problem. You don't have to worry about it. Does it go through it or does it not go through it?
and then the
You better say
receiving
it doesn't
spot.
go through it because we're sending 144 megahertz, many hundreds of miles past the alleged globe Earth curvature on a regular basis every day, all over the world. So you better say you can't send that signal.
Right.
And then there's the point of wait, even if you could bounce a radio wave off the moon, how does that prove what you're claiming about the moon? Right? Plasma bounces radio waves, and like, well, how do you know what the medium is? If there's a greater medium, the way that you're getting the distance is the duration. So you're saying, okay, speed of light, the time it takes a signal. Now we're going to get the distance because speed equals distance over time. You
Right.
get the speed of light. You get the time based on how long it takes a signal to get back. So then they're supposedly getting the distance. That's how in theory this claim happens. And it's like, well, what if there's just a different medium and you're interpreting it as like, many thousands of miles that actually it's not because it's more dense? Or what about this?
I
The
thought that
truth
the
is,
claim-
if you look it up, they'll claim the range of the time that it actually takes. It's like it varies by like a whole 0.7 seconds.
Right.
You know how many miles that is? The
When-
speed of light in 0.7 seconds?
When did they claim to find this out? Because I thought that they did the test to get the speed of light on Earth through air. They didn't put it in a vacuum, right? I mean, what was the year that we came up with the speed of light? How would they have had a vacuum that would have been able to measure that? I could have sworn that it was like they did candles and mirrors. So they didn't do it even, like, how did they come up with it? I wonder where it says here. The first demonstrated in 1676 that light does not travel instantaneously by studying the apparent motion of Jupiter's moon. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's how they figured out that light
Of
does not
Jupiter's
travel.
moon?
Yeah, they didn't. They figured out that light does not travel instantaneously by studying the apparent motion of Jupiter's moon. Progressively more accurate measurements of its speed came over the following centuries. So they just kept trying to refine it. But I don't even know if they claim it to be in a vacuum. They must. But again, we don't. If let's say we create the vacuum on Earth and then we test it within that vacuum, we can't even say that that's what's going on in space. We don't know what's going on in deep space. The speed at which light propagates through transparent. And I was trying to see if it would give us a year. I just know that the first test was like with mirrors and candles. And they even say distances that are ridiculous. Like, I think I've heard 7 miles, that they had a mirror 7 miles away from another one. And they were bouncing some candlelight. It doesn't even make sense. When I was at the canal at 4 miles, you can't see anything. 4 miles is a ridiculous distance. Yet they're making it sound like they could see a candlelight in a mirror. Through what? How did you do that for 7 miles apart? So I don't know, I'd have to look into that. I don't remember offhand what that is. But so did you finish about the ham radio? That it's just a and again, you can't do it. It's not everybody can do it. You have to build like an actual array, and you got to have all these different techniques. And most of the guys that do it don't figure it out. I just saw a guy the other day that speaking of Cavendish, that's another thing they say. Oh, everybody's done Cavendish. Cavendish is you do it in school. But this guy did it, and he didn't come to the. I'm not going to find it though, because I forgot the name of the video. It was like I couldn't make can I make these two balls move? Wait, is this it? Yeah, that's it. Wow, I got lucky there. Thank you, babe. So this guy says he watched gravity pull two balls together, and then he basically tells the story that he couldn't get it to work.
Wire resists being twisted. So
he keeps trying it, and his balls don't move. Okay, they won't move.
Come into the equation. And actually, that's something we should expect in the same way that the rate at which an object accelerates towards the Earth is independent of the mass of the object. It's always 9.8 meters per second. One consequence of that is I could have used much lighter hanging masses, which would have meant I could have used thinner wire without it snapping, which would have made the experiment more sensitive. But anyway, because we know big G, we can rearrange this equation to find what theta should be. And when you plug it all in for my experiment.
What happened?
Your hot mic in pretty bad.
Oh, sorry.
We should expect a deflection of only about 0.1 degrees. And in fact, you expect roughly the same amount for Mr. Lund's experiment. And that was at first confusing and then disheartening. Confusing because, well, look, this is what 0.1 degrees looks like. You can barely see that there's an angle there with the naked eye. You'd certainly be hard-pressed to see a change like that in the experimental setup that I have here. And although the suspended masses in Mr. Lund's experiment never actually reach their new equilibrium position because they collide with the stationary masses first, it's still clear that the deflection is much greater than 0.1 degrees. Could there be something else in this video that's attracting the masses towards each other? The stationary masses are made of lead, so it can't be magnetism because lead isn't ferromagnetic. Could it be electric charges attracting each other? Well, I did some rough calculations, and it seems as though you could get a force of attraction greater than the force of gravity from a charge that is less than the amount of charge you typically get from a static electric shock.
Did you hear that? Everybody who says that it's not, that electrostatics has nothing to do with it. When he just said he did the math and figured out that he would actually get more of a draw from that than he would from gravity.
Which is you rubbing your feet on the carpet.
Right.
That simple to create that charge.
Going on, maybe some charge was transferred to the masses inadvertently. But then again, that assumes that the two masses have an opposite charge to each other, which seems like an unlikely thing to happen. Like if you've got one charged object and one uncharged object, they'll still be attracted to each other because the uncharged object becomes polarized by the charged object, but that's a smaller force. But generally, it was difficult to find good quality information about
pause that. That's such a huge point though. Right? Like people always assume like, well, why does it only attract in cap condition? Really, sometimes they move both ways or whatever. But whenever something's like really close to neutral and there's barely charge, they start to interact with each other and they're going to be attractive only. You're going to actually have to have enough charge that's quote unquote opposite for it to ever quote unquote repel, which is actually accelerate away from each other based on the pressure of the charging system, the discharging system, more properly stated. But does that make sense? So like it's it's conceptually similar to the Cheerio effect. Like Cheerios in a bowl of milk and how they'll just like start to move together. Just conceptually. So like, because people always think, oh, if it's electrostatics, well, if it's positive or it's negative, how do you what if they were the same? Then they wouldn't attract, they'd repel, right? It's like, well, whenever, especially if we're trying to eliminate the charges or they're like not high, like extremely charged and it's a very low charge, actually, say you have them grounded, whatever objects is kind of charged the most, it's going to interact with the other one and it's going to basically polarize relative to the other ball.
Right.
And if they're both like really, really weak, it's just going to be attractive only.
And I just want people
to
recognize it.
Dive a little deeper into this. We just covered this on Globebusters Tech last Thursday. It was all about electric fields and polarization and induction, all that kind of stuff. We give you the scientific terms, of what we're talking about right now.
When did Cavendish do his experiment? Wasn't it 1700s? Or is it 1800s? I don't know if I know it offhand. I have to go look it up.
I think it was in a shed.
I know that's the thing is that, I mean, with various forces, you could never shield out electrostatics even if you tried. So it's just not evidence of anything, yet they will always bring it up. Just like Foucault's pendulum isn't evidence of anything because we've already seen numerous times from Einstein to not Lorentz, who's the other guy, that Mach, that basically said that if you have the universe moving, it's going to create the same forces. Now, Globers can't admit
1797.
1797. So I mean, again, you're talking about somebody in 1797 in a shed with torsion balances and weights, and he had to look at it from a telescope from outside the shed so that He wouldn't interrupt the
Yeah,
external
I had to throw that in there on the show too.
Did you?
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, he's like, well, then why does one ball attract the other one? That's what Robert asked me. I'm like, does it? You know, I'm like, the only thing you could try to invoke for that is like cabinet. She's like, well, it's never been disproven. I'm like, okay.
Well, this guy couldn't do it, and then he ended up having to go to like some super technical lab where they did this whole thing, and then in the lab he gets like a little tiny deflection of a laser light, and then they call that gravity.
I know, dude, and it's like that's actually well, what is laser, right? You know, it's an oscillating electric field, oscillating magnetic field that's actually intersecting, and then you have what they call the photon, which is actually the dielectric pulse of the intersection, and so it's all intrinsically electric, intrinsically magnetic. It's all within a medium that's also intrinsically electric. You have electric variables, and then they'll tell you, no, light's not magnetic or electric, but it's just literally comprised of an electric and magnetic field. And it's like, oh, you're crushing, bro. But when I told him, I was like, you know, and he didn't even account for electrostatics at all when he did that test. He ran across his yard with a telescope and then looked and said, look, it moved a little bit. And he knew the density and weight of the Earth.
Amazing. It really is amazing. And people need to recognize that that's just, you could reverse engineer that equation, basically, if you know the gravitational equation. Right.
Exactly. And then how you actually even got the gravitational equation in the first place was Newton took Kepler's laws, which were just kinematics. It was just mapping out how the planets move. He took that and then he just threw in mass based on that relationship and said there must be something that's innate to mass that's causing a force that makes it do this. Like he didn't come up with anything, discover an equation, test it, nothing like that. It was literally just a kinematic equation that he added mass to. So you can derive Kepler's laws, the kinematics, from Newton's laws, because that's all it is. But when you brought up the Mach, talking about the universe spinning around, this is what this guy's talking about here. George E. Smith and Newtonian Relativity, a neglected manuscript and under-stressed corollary, 2015. He said, quote, in the end, it is easy to see that once we expand Newton's limited world of the sun and its planets to the universe itself, even the staunchest Copernican of his day can suddenly become a geocentrist.
Right.
Just for those acting like we're lying or whatever. I mean,
yeah, and there's been so many times, and I always go back to Ellis, George Ellis, who's a mainstream cosmologist, and he said that he can construct a spherically symmetrical universe with the Earth at its center, and you can't disprove it with observations. I mean, again, and then he says that we decide our models philosophically, and he says a lot of cosmology tries to hide that. So in talking about the globe lies, if you've got cosmology and a lot of it tries to hide something, that should perk your ears. You should go, wait, why is a science trying to hide something? We know other sciences that try to hide things, and we all find that a big deal. But the fact that cosmology is admitting to picking their model based on modesty, as Stephen Hawking said, or basing it off of some philosophical ground, which is simply, we don't think that we're special, and we think it's modest of us to remove ourselves from the center, even if the observations tell us that we are there. And George Ellis tells you that you cannot disprove that we're at the center. And I mean, these guys go around acting like, I mean, who are you going to trust more, a George Ellis or an MC Toon? And when George Ellis is telling you that you can't disprove it, and then you got Nick Toon on his show telling you that that's all he does. Every day they can disprove it. Well, which one do you think is right? You think the guy with the YouTube channel or the guy that's been in physics his whole life? You know, come on.
That's another thing to point out that they lie about, is like they claim that geocentrism can be disproven with retrograde of the planets, with how the planets move. Like Kepler's laws, just how the planets move can only work in a heliocentric model. Parallax, stellar aberration, the seasons, literally, they'll say the seasons, basically how the sun appears to move throughout the year. That's because the Earth's orbit. That's what they'll say. All of those things are a lie. And this is what's even funnier. What some of them have done because they lied, and I would say, no, kinematic equivalence, that isn't true. They're like, you're wrong. You know what you're talking about. They would all lie. Him and FTFE and those people, they blatantly lied for 2-3 years. Then they realized, like, I started like tracking them down and popping up on them unexpected and like calling them out and forcing them to address it. And then they start stuttering, freaking out, won't address it. I went so hard forcing that as like the first point because I was so tired of the lie that they've kind of stopped saying it. So now that you won't really hear, they never admitted that they had lied that whole time, right? But they'll just slowly omit a couple of them. Now, I don't know what they'll say now. I couldn't watch them. They paid me. But, you know, yeah, it's like, that's just not true at all. Why, if the Earth is moving around the sun, why do you have to lie and claim that the path of the planets prove the Earth's moving around the sun when that isn't true at all. Like literally, we map it out from an assumed stationary Earth.
Well, it's funny
right?
because you got what's his name, like Astronomy Live, saying that well, you can't take, there's no preferred rest frame, right? But yet they'll teach children that this Earth goes around the sun, which is like,
but and then he, so dude, Sangenis was like, okay, but we get what you're saying, right? But like, it has to be one or the other, right? In reality. He's like, no, relativity says it doesn't. It can't be. It's nothing. It cannot be anything definitive. Like, I'm like, okay, you're just arguing for solipsism now.
Right.
You're saying that nothing can be known, that there is no objective truth. So why are you even here? You're not defending the heliocentric. You're saying there is no true model. There is no, which is kind of true. Like models are just models, right? But there is no objective truth. Either the Earth is stationary and everything's moving around it, or the Earth is moving around the sun. You're saying that there is no actual answer. Then why are you here so arrogantly and condescendingly defending the heliocentric model? It's insane, bro. And I will just point out, when you did that, when you threw out the ether and you invoked relativity, then you start seeing this gradual and progressive increase in atheism. Right. It evolved into moral relativism, and that you can never know objective truth. It got rid of like the acknowledgement of something metaphysical outside of this realm. And you just start getting atheism. And then what's happened in the last century? We've just watched the complete, like, de-evolution, if that's a word, of
the world
society.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world sucks, and it's because people no longer feel accountable for their actions. What do they care? And they just want to do anything. And yeah, this is a problem. This is what, they thought was happening when they killed God, supposedly. But we let them get away with things like evolution when, again, I always say it, there's no transitional species. There has to be an animal before the hippo. If we're to believe in evolution, that means there was animals that led to a hippo. But there is no pre-hippo. There's no pre-giraffe. There's no giraffe with a half neck or a giraffe with a 3/4 neck or with a giraffe with a quarter neck. It doesn't exist. The giraffe appears in the fossil record. So even their own evidence, which is the fossil record, disproves the idea of evolution. There is no transitional species at all. So it's like crazy because they push that. They make sure you only teach that in school. Then you've got this universe that has to maintain the ages that they gave it because it's needed for evolution. You can't get through all the evolution that they claim has happened if you don't have these billions of years. And was it you or was it, I think it was Sangenis who was talking about the Big Bang. And I never really realized what they did was after they said that the universe was expanding, then from there they just said, now we can grab it and pull it back in time and rewind it to the beginning. I didn't even know that's what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I never did that.
Well, because you would have to. It's like the necessary... It's the implication, right? If it's expanding, then it's expanding from.
My favorite thing is if you ask
previously not expanding.
A good trivia question is if can you point in the sky to where the Big Bang happened? And the answer is everywhere. There is no answer. You can't. That's their answer. You can't put a place because there's no place where the universe started. Everything started from everywhere. That's
and like I said, I didn't want to actually correct Sangenis too much, right? But like he was like. Because the balloon, there is no center to a balloon. Yes, there is.
Yeah, no, I said that. I heard him say that.
There's a center to a balloon. There's center to a loaf of bread with raisins.
Yeah, well, I think that what they're talking about is that the surface, right? Even though that's weird. Like, but we only live on the surface of the balloon. Yeah, but the surface
is still expanding from a central point, though, right? Like,
yeah, it would have to start somewhere, right? The balloon didn't come out of nowhere and just start expanding in every direction. It started somewhere. That's why the question was always... If you
contracted it all the way back to a singularity, wouldn't the singularity be the center?
Right, that's where it started. How can it start from somewhere else?
If it's expanding in all directions equally from the singularity, then the singularity would have to be the center. Also, if it did that, if there was a singularity and that created space and time and everything that exists, which is the claim, then what was it expanding into?
Right.
Right? So now you're invoking something outside of the universe. Right.
Yeah.
And it just stopped expanding at some point, or it still hasn't filled it all up, or whatever, because the antecedent to expansion is space to expand into. So it's so stupid. It's like because people will take this idea where we're pointing out that it's like this bias against God, and they're like, see, I knew it. You're just religious, and you want to believe there's a God, and you want to believe you're special, and that's why you're saying it's stationary or it's geocentric. It's like no. That is a lie. That is not what we're doing. We are pointing out the evidence shows that it is in the center, and it has implications that they're scared of. They have a bias, right? Like it always gets twisted and flipped back around on us, you know. Like these kooky, crazy creationists just can't accept we're not special, so they have to try to say the Earth isn't. No,
no. If it wasn't for the fact that I had mainstream cosmologists telling me that we can't disprove it with the observations, like, what do you mean? That is what science is observations. So we can't disprove that we're the center with observations, yet you've just dismissed it. I'm sorry that I have a problem with that. It's like, if you don't, that's
why
your
I said to that guy right there in that clip, I'm like, there's no astronomical observation that proves heliocentrism at all works from a geocentric position. And he said, nuh-uh. I'm like, I just breezed past it because it's like, dude, what? Why are you lying? If you want to believe that model, that's one thing. But if you have to lie to believe it or defend it, like, what's going on? Like, it's because it's effectively lying when that guy addresses you and says, I know it went to space. You're not addressing the point. You're intentionally avoiding the point dishonestly. So you're effectively lying.
Look at this, talking about lying.
Dishonest.
So these guys that are shooting lasers off the moon, I just realized that the data they get back, I wanted to pause this to see what they're looking at. And it says here, lunar return time. So they're shooting a laser, it's coming back. But then it says here that the return time has been corrected. And so again, this is what happens when you have software. Somebody can design a software that is going to shoot a laser and have it come back, and then it can correct the time so that what you're looking at matches what they say the distance is. This is not...
Wow.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like, what do you mean time corrected? Why don't you just shoot a laser and see how long it takes to come back? They can't even do that. It has to be time corrected units, and, well, then it's just been adjusted. And you can listen to them say, I think they say how many photons they have here. Let's listen.
Initiating laser.
Dr. McMillan,
You have to say that.
the laser pointed at a random location on the moon's surface.
Initiating laser.
Dr. McMillan pulses 200 quadrillion photons.
My bad. 200 quadrillion photons
into the night sky.
Listen how many they try and get back.
We're shining the laser on the lunar highlands now, and we're getting nothing back except background light.
As expected, the lunar regolith.
Well, as expected, we don't get anything but background light.
With its reflectivity.
Now, we didn't get to see that. We didn't show the screen on
index
that
or.
How come they said they did this before they were up there?
Yeah, just so people don't know, go look up 1961 lunar ranging experiment. In MIT, they were able to get the distance to the moon by bouncing lasers off the moon in 61 and 62, I think.
So if it's as expected, they get nothing back, but they have way better lasers now, then how are they getting it back then?
Right, and they did it years before that, too. But now we can't get it. Okay, so this is where I think...
Back here at the observatory detect no reflected light.
What is that? They just showed it going off the charts. It was just doing stuff. They're like, it showed no reflected light. But it's like moving.
Observatory detect no reflected light.
No
now
reflected
I'm
light.
going to move to Apollo 15.
Now she's going to move to where the retroreflector is because they've got that kind of aim.
Apollo 15, crewed by Scott, Irwin, and Warren.
Remember, the Earth is moving, the moon is moving.
Right.
And they're just going to be like, yeah, right here. Ping.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
That's the location where Apollo 15 landed on the moon.
That is so cool. Oh, so cool.
Initiating laser on retroreflector from Apollo 15. And there's a spike beginning to stand out.
Is that it?
That's the return from Apollo 15. Light returning from the laser retroreflector at exactly the wavelength and distance that we were expecting.
That is so cool. I know you do this like 100 times a year, but it's really thrilling to watch it happen in right in front of us.
Not just thrilling, but conclusive.
Oh, it's conclusive.
I'd love to go to...
It's really conclusive. It's not conclusive at all. Again, I've asked people, if you are somebody who does this for a living, please invite me to come see that happen. I would love to go and observe that. I would love to see some spectroscopy where you're looking at these distant stars and thinking that they are, what atmosphere is on them and things like that. I don't believe it. Let me keep going on these questions here real quick. We've got Globebusters. You misunderstood what I was saying. Other realms past the Antarctic. That's why we are not allowed to go past. Gotcha. Atheist Flat Earther says, when I say realm, I mean ours with one sun and one moon that help you now. Thank you. See if there's any more. We've got DJ Curious. He says, any plans to do any experiments in Antarctica while down there? And I don't really have any off the top of my head. I mean, I think I messaged Whitson about a couple of them, but we haven't actually talked about that. We've got a meeting Tuesday. I'm sure it'll be talked about. DJ Curious says, for example, document and record how compasses wig out, send a high altitude balloon up, record the ice wall, or settling the Southern Cross argument. Well, we won't see any stars. We don't expect to see stars. We expect it to be light the whole time. And as far as recording the ice wall, we would fly over it, but be nowhere near it as far as on the ice. High altitude balloon, you're not going to be able to get. We're not going to be able to fly with a container of helium, so that's not going to happen. Compasses. We'll have compasses. I think each of us has one. Then we got a GPS device from Wolfie, so we'll be able to show the difference between the two. I think that's basically it. We have Mycomaj says Aristophanes, not Aristophanes. Okay, I'm glad that you know how his name was pronounced. I didn't know that that was a part of the education. I didn't get that. Is it possible for you to make your own method? Oops, that's not for us. Rico's Tinfoil Sombrero says, I back up the troll's question. Is this a club, a cult, or a disco? Because I need to know how to try and dance. There's an experiment called Rico's Failure, but I still at a loss. Yes, you need to learn to dance. Globebusters, it would simply... Whoops. Wow, read my comment at Globebusters. It would simplify what I said about the... Yeah, we were getting there. Dude, who is the atheist flat earther? You guys need to relax a little bit. Relax. Slow down. Let me see what we missed here. Okay, keep going. It would simply simplify what I said about the sun and moon. We got it now. You are just gaslighting me now. I'm not gaslighting you because I didn't read your comment. That's not gaslighting. Here we go. I'm feeling that because of my first comment, you twisted its meaning, and now the breakdown of my theory just won't be entertained. You know, not even going to keep going on that. We did not do anything on purpose. We understand your theory is that you think there's other moons and suns out past the Earth. Gotcha. TJ Curious says, do you think you'll see an ice wall? Do you think you'll see the ice wall? We should fly over.
No, I don't think they would allow you anywhere near if there is a structure out there that
I thought you were
is the edge.
The ice shore.
Keep you at least 500, 1,000 miles away from that.
They used to call it the Great Barrier. So if you look at any of the old sailing books, 1900s, Amundsen, Scott, those kind of guys, they would all talk about the imposing Great Barrier, just because that's what they called it. Now they make fun of us and say there is no such thing as an ice wall when there has always been. It's called the Great Barrier. In fact, if you go to, I think you go Antarctic ice shelves on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what do you mean? We're gonna have to see an ice wall. We're gonna have to fly over the edge, and it's gonna be a giant wall of ice.
Yeah. So if you go to a list of Antarctic ice shelves here, this shows you. Oops, that's not the right screen. I gotta go browser. Shoot, hold on. Move this one over here. There. Now you can see it. All right. Move this one. So this shows you all the, and if you look around here, it's basically showing you all the edge of Antarctica is the ice wall. So these are ice shelves, and they talk about ice shelves are attached to large portions of Antarctic continent, the total area, blah, blah, blah. And it shows each one of these is a certain height, and they're all like huge. They're all, 50 to 200 feet. And then if you look down, is it in here? Let me see where I go to. I believe let's just go to Antarctica. When it talks about, I don't think it's in Antarctica. Where is it? Where you can find quotes of them talking about the Great Barrier. It might be in here. Let me see. Control find.
Are you guys going to be taking a DC-10 down there?
No, it's a regular 757. I can show it here in a second. I forgot where it is. It was ice wall. No, but there's quotes. It might be at the bottom here. Quotes from these guys sailing that all said the same thing about the Great Barrier. I just don't know if it's in this Wikipedia or somewhere else. Oops, go to the bottom. I know it's at the very end right here. No, not this one. Maybe it is. What's this one say? No. Not sure which Wikipedia article it's in, but it does talk about the, here's more thing about the ice sheets. What was it? Ice wall or something? Let me see. Is it this one? Ice shelves. Okay, maybe it's here. Talking about the ice shelves. And again, you see this is the wall, right? So this is what you would fly over, and then Antarctica would be back in there. So yeah, we should be able to see that from the plane, but we're not going to be close to it. Let me see if there's quotes here.
Oh yeah, I misunderstood. I was thinking they were talking about like the dome edge, or like if there is a structure out there, the wall.
Yeah, I don't see anything there. Disruption of Ellesmere ice shelf, other ice shelves. No. So there's a bunch of quotes that you can find from, if we just look up like the Great Barrier, that's probably what we'll see something, because that's what they called it, the Great Barrier. Not Barrier Reef. Let's see here, the Great Barrier. And I've shown before in books, the Great Barrier, Antarctica. I've shown books where this is what they talked about. They talked about how imposing it was. So this is what you got to go to. Ross Ice Shelf. We'll go that one. That's the big one. And then if you come down here, here's your quotes. So again, you've got Amundsen Scott wrote, along the outer edge of the barrier shows an even, flat surface, but there, inside the bay, the conditions were entirely different. Even from the deck of the Fram, we were able to observe great disturbances in the surface of every direction, huge ridges and hollows. Between them, extended on all sides, the great elevation lay to the south in the form of a lofty, arched ridge, which we took to be about 500 feet. So he's talking about an ice wall 500 feet on the horizon, but it might be assumed that this ridge continued to rise beyond the range of vision. Then you got here somebody saying this connection had always haunted our brains. What would it be like? A high perpendicular face of ice up to which we would have to haul our things laboriously with the help of tackles, or a great and dangerous fissure which we should not be able to cross without going the long way around. We naturally expected something on the sort. This mighty and terrible monster would, of course, offer resistance in some form or the other, he wrote. The mystic barrier, all accounts without exception, from the days of Ross to present time, had spoken of this remarkable natural formation with apprehensive awe. It was as though one could always read between the lines the same sentence. Hush, be quiet, the mystic barrier. 1, 2, 3, and a little jump, and we were up and over the wall. So this is, they've known that those walls are there forever, although we come along and say, call it an ice wall, and people go crazy and think there's no such thing, and there's no such thing as an ice wall. Flat earthers think there's an ice wall. No, there is one. And if you click on ice walls or ice shelves, then you'll see that basically the entire shoreline is covered. So it is there, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, and we should be able to fly over and see it, hopefully. Do you think we'll see zombies or ice dragons? I doubt that. I'm going to go with a no on that one. Join us after on Tinfoil Sombrero. YouTube with Eddie Booz. We'll be talking about the moon and banana phones. What is a banana phone? I'm not really sure I understand that. Anybody? Banana phone?
No.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
I'm wondering, dude, can I take a satellite phone?
So, yes. You can. They're about, the ones that I saw that are decent price are like $1,500.
But someone reached out to me and offered to send me one that's rented.
Is it Iridium?
I don't know. What does
So
that mean?
Iridium is the only, because I remember I bought us those GPS devices. Well, I didn't tell you yet, but I have to return them. So this is your official warning. I'm taking back the Christmas gift I gave you. It's already gone. But I bought them, and then Ruhif called me and said, hey, I don't think you can use that in Antarctica because I think it pings off of cell towers. And I said, well, I don't think so. It says it's global and uses satellites. He's like, yeah, the satellites pick up your location, but then you need to communicate it to the internet somehow, and it's not a two-way satellite. So I called them and asked them, and they're like, yeah, you have to have a cell tower close by, or else it doesn't have no way to update itself.
Okay, bro. They're using satellite phones in Antarctica, bro.
Yeah. No, but I'm telling you. So Iridium is the satellite that has two-way communication. So you have to use an Iridium phone or Iridium device in order to have two-way where it can get your location and you can call.
Dang. Okay, can you spell it?
IRIDIUM, I think.
IRIDIUM.
Yeah. Search right now for the Iridium Extreme. I think it's an awesome little device. I wrote them on Wednesday and asked them for a donation. Not a donation. I asked for a loaner. I said, can we get one of these on loan? We'll say your name and some social media, and then we'll give it back when we get back. So they haven't got back to me yet, but that's cool because I want one of those Extremes. It's $1,500, and then that will actually update people to where we are the whole time because it's a two-way communication device.
Okay. Another thing is dude, can I take my Starlink Mini?
Yeah, but Duffy bought the $3,000 one. So he said he bought the $3,000 package, which is meant for if you're on a boat way out in the ocean by yourself, and it is a station, but it's we'll be able to actually get Wi-Fi on our cell phones from the Starlink box that he bought, supposedly. Again, I believe all that when I see it.
I mean, I have a Starlink Mini.
Yeah, I think you should bring it. Does it need to be by any kind of towers at all, or no?
No.
I wonder why then why is there a different one for the boat, then a different one for land station, and a different one for the Mini? It just seems like that would be the same thing.
I don't know. I mean, good question, right?
Yeah, I know.
Good question. I think what it there's different styles, but the way I understand the different styles are just that you get different max downloads. Not max, but it's if you have the same Starlink, the big size and the Mini one, the Mini will get slightly worse internet because it's I don't know all the actual specifications that causes that, but I don't know if that's the only difference in what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either. I couldn't even find the one on their site. I saw one for a boat, but it wasn't $3,000, and I saw the Mini was $600, right? I saw those. So this is the
Mini was on. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember. One of them's on a lot of cell or something. I don't remember.
So if anybody's got one of these and they want to loan us one, that'd be great. This is the Iridium Extreme here, $1,349. very expensive. But what it does, the one that I saw, there was like a yellow one somewhere. It comes with a bunch of minutes, like 400 minutes for talk time, and then also you can update social media with it and stuff like that. I don't know. Here's this. Talk about this one. Anyway, if anybody's got one, that'd be great, because I already reached out to Iridium and see if they can loan us one, but I don't know, because there's some map company building a map. I forgot what their name is. But one of the cool things that I'm just making sure I do is that I don't even run things by Duffy when I do them, because I don't see a reason to do that, right? Like if I want a satellite phone or I want a GPS tracker, it shouldn't be like I have to go through him to get one. I should just be able to reach out to somebody that does that, which is what I did, but then found out that they lie, because they put on their site like, oh, global coverage. Okay, well then if it's global, I'm going to Antarctica, then I expect it to work there. And they're like, oh no, it has to have cell towers. Okay, well then don't put global. So I just send those back, but they were cheap. Those were the Land Air Sea 54, I think. Land Air Sea 57 or something. 54. I just saw it. It was this one here, which was cheap. I was like shocked at how cheap it was. Where are we at? Products, Land Air Sea 54. So this one I thought would work, but this is the one that doesn't work. It's cheap. It's only $30. If anybody's got kids that they want to keep track of, or your husband or wife, I'm just going to recommend these items. What I've heard, I looked into these, is that you just strap one of these onto the bottom of your car, just magnetic sticks to it, and then its battery can last like a year. And it basically, you just turn it on to not be on when the car's not moving. And then you can turn it on remotely, but then you can track where people go. You can actually draw on a map, like, I don't want my daughter to leave town. So you just draw a square around the map, and then if she leaves town, you get an alert that she left town. And it also keeps track like their speed in the car. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good for $30. And then they've got like a monthly, this monthly payment here, which isn't real bad. I mean, for just 3-minute updates is $19.95 per month. So $20 a month for that peace of mind. I'm considering it because I don't have any kind of tracking on our cars or anything like that. It's more for like assets. If you got trucks and you got trailers and you got certain things. Anyway, I think it's a good item, but it's not a two-way communication. So all it's doing is, well, it is a two-way communication unless you're in Antarctica. Because it will just ping off of cell towers, but there's no cell towers down. So
yeah, I have one of those Magellan GPS for when you're driving around.
Right, and those probably do the same
I was
thing,
out
right?
in the middle of New Mexico, and it wasn't working. It was saying searching for satellite signal, clear skies, not a tree around, nothing blocking anything. But I was just in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So there wasn't a cell tower around. So yeah,
I think they would be
didn't get
ignorant
anything.
not to have a bunch of freaking balloons up there as well, right? Like, regardless of what all's up there, like, why wouldn't they have like fleets of balloons with satellites on them?
Why? Yeah, why not? It'd be cheaper.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, that's what I think is so funny about DirecTV is like people don't even realize that DirecTV is just a scam, because what they do is they send the signal from the ground to the satellite, then it redirects to people's houses. Well, what is the point of that? We have undersea cables. So why did you spend $800 million on just putting a satellite up there? What is the point? We have undersea cables that are faster. They're better. The condition, your quality of your signal will be much better if it's through the undersea cables, which are already run. So it's like the entire idea of like satellite TV, and it's all just.
Oh, well, I guess the idea. Okay, well, the idea would be, say you're in like a really remote place.
Well, sure, okay.
They send the signal from somewhere on the ground, but not where you are, right? And then the satellite's able to get it back to you because you're in a remote place.
Right. So then, wouldn't it just? I mean, why would he have it for everybody? Why does everybody have DirecTV?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Touche. And realistically, you have towers everywhere on really tall mountains.
Yeah, and I think they even claim that it's not like you have to have like GPS has to have ground stations. It's not just my phone talks to the satellites.
The thing, this is the thing with flat earthers. What happened was we found out that 99.9% of all communication is like undersea wires and cables and towers and stuff.
Right.
And so then people really ran, and then we saw the videos of like exactly what we saw look like satellites fall out of the sky, attached balloons. And then you have the other side that's saying that's ignorantly claiming stuff like all your phones use satellites all the time. You couldn't even use your phone without satellite, and that there are nothing like satellites on balloons. You guys are crazy. And then we see them fall out of the sky attached to balloons, and we see like entire balloon networks and like systems that they're developing and that they've already put out. And so then flat earthers get trapped into being like, okay, there are no satellites, because you have all these people lying. Right. And then you have all the stuff that we weren't openly told about that was kind of hidden and misrepresented in the mainstream that you had to find out. When, of course, an obvious option is it could all be true. There could be some things kind of like satellites, and who knows how they're moving up there. There's many different
Lots
ways
of different
they could
ways,
be.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you have balloons, and then you have towers. Like it could be all three.
Yes, totally. So I was going to mention something. I forgot now. Other lies. I don't know if you heard this one, but Neil deGrasse Tyson says, when asked about the moon landings, did we go to the moon? His factful proof. This is his ironclad evidence, is that there was enough fuel in the Saturn V to go to the moon. So where do you think they went? To the Tiddlywinks? That's what he says. So it's like, okay, we can't use that. That's a scientist telling you that that's a good. Again, if just because a Ford Focus has enough gas to get to Hawaii, then that's not evidence that the car drove to Hawaii. You would easily say, well, no, it didn't drive there. There's ocean there. No, but it has enough gas to get there. So where do you think it went? Well, it can't go to Hawaii. So just because it has enough gas to get to Hawaii is not proof that it went to Hawaii. That's Neil deGrasse's proof that we went to the moon. There's enough gas in the rocket to get to the moon. It's like, what? That's not proof of anything. And I still laugh at they land on the moon and like think of the launch structure at NASA for launching a craft. Right, it got all these towers and all these things. But then when it goes to the moon, they don't need nothing. Just launches off the ground. Just a little press a button and just goes up in the sky and connects with it. It's like so ridiculous. Like what? Just because it's 1/6 gravity, it's just like we can just press a button and just lift off. And it's crazy to me. I don't think so. So we did that one. Let me check more of these ones. We've got.
Yeah, guys, if you think of lies that they say, put those as suggestions in the question section.
Yeah, Dr. Bass Ackwards says we could get like 70K miles of really strong rope and get 2 boats and go as close to Antarctica as allowed. Park 1 boat, rope, tie it. A second boat, travel east or west. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. You know what's funny with the Vendée Globe? And I think somebody brought this up yesterday. I totally agree. That race is going on now, and we'll see that they do too slow again. But I just want to show you where the exclusion zone is. So they don't let the boats get, even though it's a race around Antarctica, that's kind of the point. But they don't let the boats get close to Antarctica. Well, why not? Well, we'll show you why. Because imagine if we do know that on the globe model, you would turn right when going east around the Earth. On the flat Earth model, you would be going left while going around the Earth in a flat Earth model. So imagine if they would know that people would be able to tell that, what's the way you make sure that they don't? You tell them they have to stay away from the ice wall, right? And they don't just make it close. Where's the, we're going to go to tracker. Oops, we're on the wrong thing. Can't see it. Move it over here. There we go. There. So there you go. Here's the tracker where these guys are right now, going through the Vendée Globe. But what I'm saying is, look at the excursion. This is where you're not allowed. Now, again, you would only be able to see Antarctica from at most, 100, 200 miles, maybe. I mean, that would be a stretch if you're on the water. So that 200 miles is like here. This is how close 200 miles is. This is 1,000+ miles, right? They won't even let them near. Like, why would somebody need to go up here? Why not? Why wouldn't they be able to race here? Well, the reason why is because if they could see the ice wall, they would realize they're turning the wrong way, right? This looks like you should be turning right, but they would be turning left. But you can't see that when you're out in open ocean. You can't see. There's no way if you're in open ocean that you would even be able to tell, oh, we're turning right, we're turning left. It's just, you're not going to know that. But yeah, it's just crazy. That's how far, look how far away that exclusion zone is, where you're not allowed within there. Well, again, if you're doing this, you're not seeing the walls of and believe me, the sea ice is only out, they say 100 miles. So it's like here. So there's no reason why it would even be this. But they have to keep the distance. They don't want them to go too short here because it's going to cut the distance down, right? Which is going to be obvious when they need it to be about 20. So they have to keep them high latitudes. Not high, I guess you would call that low. But I think because this total trip is like 25,000 miles. And we did see there's lots. If you go to the site, by the way, it's just Vendée Globe. You can find it and hit the tracker. You can find videos that they're posting in front of the boats. Oh, this guy's not speaking English. We watched him yesterday, I think.
Ça y est. Woo! On est dans l'hémisphère sud.
Yeah, no, listen to that. So what's crazy is that these guys, they do it solo for 100 days. They don't even sleep.
That's crazy.
I mean, well, they sleep like 5 minutes every hour, but I mean, that's like.
That's just insane.
Here's me pretending I'm some sort of man, and there's these men who are out on the fucking ocean by themselves for 100 days in a sailboat. I'm like, okay, well, that's a little different than me. I ain't getting out there. Ain't gonna catch.
I wonder how many of these people are different for the rest of their lives after this.
Oh, I think they have to be. They've got to be psychos. I mean, somebody who doesn't get sleep like that goes delirious. Don't they? I mean,
things start happening to you mentally.
Right.
Big shout out to Plum Level Square Bear over on Rockfin. Says, I got 5.
Nice. So yeah, these guys are just, I mean, I would be so tired. I can't even imagine. 5 minutes every hour. And they don't even really sleep. They just close their eyes and like rest their body. But look at these boats. So, and one of the crazy things I looked yesterday at Ventusky.
They're cruising.
Yeah, if you look at Ventusky and look at the wind, I can get the wind at 10 meters above the ocean down there, and it's zooming at 25 miles per hour. Remember, the winner of the race will come in at 12 knots. Okay, but the wind is going 25 miles an hour. So the boat's going, it's just weird to me. It's like, look how fast that is. And they're moving. And we're, again, and they don't slow down. They, put the cart on, or the boat on autopilot, and they take naps. But I mean, look how crazy that is. You can't see anything. There's nothing any side of you. No land. Look at it. And then people are like, oh, it's a circle. Well, that's how our eyes work. Of course it's a circle. If you can only see the same distance in every direction, it's called a radius of a circle, and it's going to look like a circle. But people want to call that the curve of the Earth. We've got Lowry says the only experiment is what happens when you put flat earthers and anti-flat earthers on the same airplane. Behavioral experiment, Lord of the Flies. They better stay away, that's all. We've got, oops, I just lost that one. Shit. Let me go back up. Shoot. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got DJ Curious again says, you think Duffy would admit no ability to fly over Antarctica? Also, why not tell him to run for the outer lands, either find the firmament or more lands? Well, it's a little more difficult than I think it sounds there, but also, why not tell him to run for the outer lands? Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be running anywhere. I heard somebody saying, like, you're not going to be allowed to leave the camp. I'm like, nobody's going to want to leave the camp. Like, I'll just go wander out there in the snow for out that way. Crevasses everywhere. See here, we've got...
Yeah, I'd be staying as close to the heat as possible.
Supposedly, yeah, I guess. Is it possible that the sun is at a higher altitude in the south, which means it can be seen and provide light, but it might appear smaller, and it's just higher up than usual? Actually, it appears larger. So
yeah, I always thought it was a perspective thing, being lower on the horizon when you're in the north, because on the winter solstice, it got to 27 degrees from where I was up in Indiana. That was the highest it would get, and it looked big on the horizon.
Huh.
And then I took a picture of it, and then took a picture of it at the summer solstice, and yeah, it's about 5%. They say 5 to 6% bigger on the winter solstice than it is on the summer solstice. And I thought it had to do with perspective, but I asked Iru, and he said no. Even from down there, the sun is bigger in in their summer than it is in the winter for them.
Which is why they had to adopt the idea of the Earth being closer to the sun in the southern summer, right? Because observationally it does. So they had no other option but to do that, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense, because we can tell that when the sun comes closer to us here in the north, that's when it gets hot, and then when it goes away to my south, that's when it gets cold. Just kind of makes all the sense.
And the moon does the exact opposite. It's at its biggest to the north.
Yeah. And
it's smaller in the south.
What show were we looking at the other day? We were looking at, because people were asking about the moon, didn't understand why don't we see the moon when we're down there. So just remember that the moon does in 1 month what the sun does in a year. So if the sun has a period of time where there's darkness in the north and then darkness in the south, vice versa, the moon does the same thing every 2 weeks. So basically, if you're at a pole, either the north or south, you get 2 weeks of the moon and then 2 weeks of not. Then 2 weeks of the moon, 2 weeks of not. It's just like you're doing a year of the sun, but you do it in a month. So the moon does in a month what the sun does in a year, meaning it goes between the tropics, back and forth. I think it's got a 5-degree tilt or something, so it goes a little bit past the 23.5 degrees. You can see it a little bit. Like, I've seen the moon almost above my head here. How about you? Have you seen it above in Florida? I think it will do that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've seen it to the north here. And,
yeah, I think it's. I don't know what the degrees is that it will do that, but it will go a little bit further, whereas the sun does not. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, it looked like it was, how the sun will even do that? It'll look like it's to the north when it's really far to the east or west, when it's high in the sky.
Yeah,
like in the summertime,
it's like an arc.
You'll see it. Yeah, it'll look like it's coming up, rising in the north, but actually it's really just perspective. And as it comes around, it swoops around to your south. Well, that's kind of what the moon did. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. We were out looking at the moon when the supermoon was. But yeah, it was to the north. I was like, I bet it's to the north. And we had to actually step out in the yard and look to the north when the front of the house is facing south.
Yeah, and I mentioned on my show, if anybody wants to help us out, this is my recommendation. And I think Brian from my VIP group is making something. I'll get it to you guys by next week. But what would be helpful is no matter where you're at, if you want to plan on 12/14 through 12/18, just observing the sun, what would be best is if you had like 3 observations per day, to where you go out at say 8 in the morning and you start your recorder, you're recording a video, and you just say, all right, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm at this location, and the sun is at, and then you give us a degree. Just if we had a bunch of people do that from say South America, South Africa, and also in the north, that we could get a better idea of what the sun's doing for everybody if we knew what it was doing for everybody. So that would be helpful. It's only the 5 days, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And if you miss a day or you miss an hour, it doesn't matter. It's just the more data is better. And then I think what you want to do is draw something on the ground wherever you're going to be doing this observation to where you have the directions, and maybe a compass so you can see the different degrees. And then you can just say, yeah, this is north, this is south. But for everybody, the sun should be in the south, right? There's nobody that should see the sun in the north except for people in Antarctica. Besides that, everybody else should see the sun either above them or to their south. Is that correct? Yeah, because it's going to be near December 21st, so near the solstice. So everybody will be looking south at the sun. Well, again, it's going to rise in the east and set in the west. But I'm talking about if you're doing it at noon, it's going to be to your south. And it would just be helpful if we had locations of where the sun was for all those people. Hey, thank you very much. We've got thanks to Chris Crum for $25. Thank you very much. He said just put $300 on BetMoose for definitely flat with sunset. You guys are my heroes. Let's all play these odds and fund our own trips. Nice. That's a good bet. You could do really well with that.
Yeah, we had Crum on Friday night, and he was talking about that.
Awesome.
The different sites where you can place bets about the globe versus flat Earth.
Yeah, it's up there. You can go to betmoose.com for sure. So anyway, this is for the Vendy Globe, but you watch. At the end, you can already predict it's going to be about 80 or 90 days for the winter, and the winter's going to come in at like 14 or 12 miles per hour, and then you can go look into it and find out that boat does 40. So again, does it mean that, okay, they're just in choppy waters and that it's a harder race because they're racing by themselves? Whatever the reason might be, sure, it could be that. But it also is peculiar that they seem to go much slower than their max speed. Okay, let me see if I have anything else on my list. Got a couple more here. And we were just kind of...
Still, it doesn't make sense.
I still struggle with that one. And again, like I said, when you look up the wind, and then another thing is the current, you're going in the direction of the circumpolar current, which is the biggest current on the Earth. And I think they claim it to be like 1.5 miles per hour, which is very slow. I bet it's more than that. But again, I wouldn't know that offhand, but just to me, it would make sense if it was more than that. So we talked about that. Star parallax is another thing that nobody's ever seen. Now, they claim that they've seen it, but as far as you or I or Witsit, no, we've never seen it, right? Nobody's called us into some sort of observatory and said, okay, here's where the star was 6 months ago. Now we've moved in our orbit. Here's 6 months later, and here's the parallax. Because the numbers that are involved are ridiculous. And again, I've always shown this lie. Speaking of heliocentric lies, if we look up star parallax, you're going to see how they draw it. They always draw it a fake way. Okay, they always draw it, make people think that it's this easy. They say, look at all these drawings, right? In actuality, the angles that would come off of, let's say this picture here. So the angles that would come off of the Earth are 89.99999. So they're a straight line this way, and then this one's 89.99999. Now they have to draw it this way so that you get confused and think it's this easy. Oh yeah, we could look at this star against the background stars and easily figure out the parallax. That's not right. The parallax, to get answers in the megaparsecs and the light years, you have to have 89.9999 something. It might be 89.9994, 89.9993, but it's basically, and how are they figuring out those angles? Give me a break. I think it's down to the arc second that they claim that they can see it. And again, to me, it's like, wouldn't the atmosphere move stars by that much? And then you look into the Harvard paper that talks about negative parallax, because half the time they're getting negative parallax, which means that the star is going the wrong way. And what do they do with that? They throw out the negative parallax and call it a nil. So if you do that, then there's only
make it a zero.
Yeah,
no big deal.
There's only positive left. So imagine that. Now all the stars have positive parallax. Well, yeah, because you threw out the half of them that were negative. So give me a break. But anyway, yeah, imagine that these are actually, the angle should go this way. And now imagine the angle's going straight up. You're like, well, when do they ever cross this star? Well, 29 trillion miles away. That's where they cross the star. So it's crazy to even think about that they would even.
All that information is really hard to find now, Jeran, about James Bradley and stellar aberration and all that. Kyle was trying to do a video. on it.
It's
He
hard
went
to find
one
any
of
of that
my
stuff.
old videos that I did, and I'm pretty sure I quote you in it because you're the one who it was removed from NASA.
Yeah.
Like it was on their website. That's where you looked it up. That's where I went and looked it up after I saw you do it. And I went to go show a buddy it like 6 months later, and it was gone.
It's crazy. They don't show one picture of it being anywhere near real. Every single time it's this angle, making it seem so simple. If this is how parallax worked, yeah, it would be simple to figure out distances. That's not what we're getting because they're actually measuring at, I want to say if I go to a light year calculator or light year calculator. Now I want the one where I can put in the angles. I'm not really sure what it is, but I've seen it
And
before.
isn't this why they say they used to think it was a lot closer, but with the measurements being so minute, because they're all in, like you said, 89.999 whatever degrees, that as our optics got better and things like that, measurements, the sun seemed to get further and further away over the centuries.
Oh, did they say that?
Well, yeah, because what's his name that used the moon? Who is he? Aristarchus, I think.
Right.
And they said he measured it to where the moon was, or the sun was, I think 3,000 miles or something like that.
So this here says this stellar distance and parallax calculator determines the distance of a nearby star in light years and parsecs from its stellar parallax measured in arc seconds and vice versa. So example, calculate the distance in light years to the brightest star in the northern celestial hemisphere, Arcturus, in the constellation of, I can't read that, Booties, from its parallax value of 89, I can't read that. What does it say? Does it say 88? 88.83?
Yeah, 88.83.
I didn't even know there was such a 88.83. So that would be, you put that in, I'm not even sure. This is arc seconds, milliarc seconds. Milliarc seconds is ridiculous. That's even harder. I don't think you just put that number in here, but I don't know. We'll try it. And then distance, you just hit calculate for one of them? No, I don't really know how you do this.
Dude, you can't accurately measure with confidence that.
No, I mean, people need to think about having a circle. You have a full circle, and then think of what 1 degree would be like. Okay, 45 degrees, that angle, 90. So now we can go down to 1. 1 is a tiny little slice of pie. Okay, there's your 1. Now you have to separate that into 60, right? And then to get to milliarc seconds, to get to arc seconds, do you then have to do it again by 60, or is it by, I think you do the original one by 360, would get you the arc seconds, and then they still have lower than that. You can get milliarc seconds, which is then I think you split each one of those by 1,000. You can't even fathom that. Can't fathom that.
No, the best I could get with my, professional grade sextant was 0.2 degrees I could get within.
Right. Yeah, so this is telling you it is measured from the angle or the semi-angle between the two lines of sight from an observer to an object, which they do by saying 6 months later we're on the other side of the sun, so they're already making that assumption. These two separated points are situated on the Earth's orbit and created by two different orbital positions of Earth, as described below. The parallax of a celestial body can be used to find the approximate distance using the formula, whatever this is. So this is a little bit better. Does this show? Oh, no, it doesn't. It still shows the angle going this way. I thought they were showing these. See how these angles are not like that. Remember, it's 89 or close to 90 degrees, so it's going straight out. They can't even show it because
Dude,
it
a
wouldn't make
milliarc
sense.
second is like 1/3,600,000th of a degree.
That's what a milliarc second is?
Yeah, and it's well known that when we're looking at stars and stuff, we can't reliably resolve below like even a degree.
Think about
really,
this. They say that if gravity bends light, then how are you measuring anything? Because the light has to travel past gravitational fields. There's going to if it's a star that's behind another star, then of course it's going to travel through that star. So it's going to adjust everything. You can't measure distances based on that. Not if gravity's bending light. Then all the lights in the sky are bending. So it just doesn't.
You can't actually even resolve that. It's well known, dude, that in astronomy you can't actually resolve to that precision. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. They actually kind of just take averages based on what they expect it to be and stuff like that.
Of course. Now, the other thing that baffles me is, don't they say that the sun, I know you did this with Bennett, isn't the sun a black body that they call a black body so it absorbs all radiation?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but they then claim that they bounce radio waves off of it and get distances.
Yeah. So then they immediately say, "Oh, it's not actually a black body. It's just idealistically a black body." And
not when we need to bounce lasers off it to get the distance. Then it's fine.
Only when they need it to be a black body. That's when it's a black body.
That's so funny because like you could never bounce light, which radio waves are light, off of a black body. And
I mean,
it's just pretty much a black body, but it's not one. But then whenever we can't explain Mercury, we actually increase the characteristics of a black body by then also manipulating the charge and changing the size of the sun, and then adding an additional fictitious planet.
I don't think I can believe that you can bounce a radar or anything off of Venus. I just can't believe that. I mean,
it's even worse than it's even worse than this with the sun. They all still claim this as well. This is another lie. They all claim it's on McToon's website. They all lie about this. They're like, we know how far away the sun is because we shot radar off of it. Okay, they don't even claim to do that at all anymore. They claim to have done that in like the 60s, and it was unsuccessful. This is the official story. So if we step outside of the fact that that at the time they didn't know that within their model it had to be like a black body. Okay, so they didn't even know that. The model has since been updated, and it has to be like a black body. So applying what the model now says, that test in like the 60s is completely laughable, even in principle, right? They didn't know about that at the time. But even ignoring that, they say that the solar noise was so great that they couldn't actually decipher. There was no way that they could actually decipher between, even if the radio signal actually did bounce back, which one was the radio signal, because the solar radiation noise was so much greater. Right, that's what the actual paper says. That's on McToon's website that they all cite. They claim it's definitive. They act like they do it all the time, and that they're still doing it. We do it all the time. Total lie. Total lie. The actual conclusion was we can't actually even figure out. There's no way to even decipher where the radio wave would be because of all the solar noise. So if like imagine trying to send like a signal towards the sun, and then there's all kinds of radiation and signals coming off the sun, and being like,
well, then what they do is they get return signals for like a week, and then they go through all that data and they wait till one of it matches what they were looking for, and then they call that a match. But you had a whole week worth of noise, and just because you found one piece in the noise that matches what you expected to return from Venus doesn't mean that that's what that is.
They have to go back to the 60s to supposedly show that.
Right.
And by the way, they don't actually say like we're verifying the distance to the sun with this. Right? That's how the Globers try to spin it. That wasn't even like the objective. But the point is that they couldn't like legitimately bounce. They were trying to figure out more characteristics of the sun, but they couldn't because it didn't work at all. They couldn't even verify they were actually like connecting with the sun and that it was returning in any way.
Austin, could the stars be?
That was that Apollo technology.
I just don't know why they lie about everything. Like, why would you keep that on your website?
Right. Yeah, it's insane. Do you think the stars could be something like embedded in the firmament, like let's say pieces of crystal or something, and then they're all reflecting the sun's light, and so that's why we get sun-like signatures from them when we use spectroscopy? Because they're saying that they look like sun. They're saying it looks like the sun. Okay, well, if it is sunlight that's reflecting, because again, if the sun lights up atmosphere but not non-atmosphere, which we know that that's the case. If you go up high enough, you're out of the sunlight, even though the sun's above you. So it means that it's only lighting up the air. So it really could be sending light across the realm, hitting something embedded in the firmament. So the stars are actually just reflections of the sun, and then they would all give off signatures of being a sun. Anyway, just an idea. So this part here talking about Cepheids is another thing I think is a total lie. They listen to what they say about Cepheids. So they call these distance measures or distance candles. What do they call it? Standard candle. So it's a Cepheids. We can use.
I just want to real fast. Yeah. I just want to address that idea. Okay, like the spectral data of the stars and the sun aren't the same.
Well, they're not at all.
Okay, so, well, they may have some overlaps with certain stars, kind of, but they're like different. They're less and they're lower or whatever. They'll say cooler, and they claim that the spectral data from stars has this huge wide range. All right. So the sun is just one type of star, and it's in this range, but there's a huge range of spectral lines and compositions and temperatures and stuff like that. Specific absorption lines, et cetera, based on the elemental makeup. So they don't even that idea sounds good that you can like look at the sun and be like, oh, look, the spectral data. Oh, look at the stars. They have the same spectral data. That's because the sun is a star. I was like, no, that's not what happens at all.
So do you think if I took a balloon and filled it and didn't tell them what size it was or what kind of gas I put in it and had it up in the air, yeah, they couldn't tell you what was in it? or how far away it was, or how big it was?
No, I mean, just like 2 years ago, they came out and they're like, "Oh, major discovery, we were wrong about the elemental composition of the sun," and they added like a element. I remember like 1% something. So they're like, they want to predict that we've known exactly what the sun's made of because of spectral data for decades, and then the truth is that they just updated what the sun supposedly was made of like 2 years ago.
The other thing is that's crazy. So out of all the stars we can see, and I don't know how many that is, but it's like 3,000 maybe with our eyes. Maybe even with a telescope, it's more than that, 5,000. But the sun is like the second smallest, which just the chances of that are so slim. They like to talk about the sun being a normal star, right? Or they say it's an average star. But really, they have to have it so small because they need every other star that we see to be gigantic. That's why they do that, because otherwise we wouldn't see it. You wouldn't be able to see
Isn't
it.
that convenient?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to see it if we
just happen to have this one of the second to the smallest one.
It might be third too.
And dude, the sun is not a star; it's the sun.
Right.
It's just, I mean, it's so goofy. It's like they want to flip that burden on us. Like somehow we need to prove the sun's not a star. I'm like, what? No, the sun is different. Believe it or not, it doesn't get hotter when the star's over top of me. Right. It's completely different. So
I was going to mention that earlier, that one of the things that Bob Nodell did that was, I thought, really cool is he noted that there was like a 10-degree temperature change during the eclipse, right? So the second that the eclipse covers the sun, he said immediately right below, he got, it was 10 degrees cooler. And I've heard reports of that. Well, if the sun was going behind the edge of the earth, the same thing would happen. Meaning at a sunset, as soon as the sun sets, you should immediately feel 10 degrees cooler. It's the same thing as the moon getting blocking the light. The light's been blocked by the earth, but it doesn't do that. Why is that? Well, it's different. In an eclipse, the light is being blocked, so you do lose 10 degrees. In a sunset, the light isn't being blocked. It's just going away slowly, further away from you, so you're not going to have a drastic change. Nothing's blocking the light instantaneously, so you would expect a temperature change over time. Seeing what else I have here on my thing, we got redshift. Again, redshift has been shown that it could be something else. Again, redshift and blue shift and Doppler makes sense if you're talking about audio or sound waves on the Earth because it has air. And so if an ambulance is going by you, it's going to change pitch. Why? Because the waves are being compressed as it comes towards you, and then they're being expanded or stretched out when it goes away, causing these Doppler effects. But in space, they want to use the same measurement and call that Doppler, but there's no medium. So the light can't be... it's not being stretched and compressed because there's nothing to do that, right? If sound is traveling, it's like, does sound would it have a Doppler in space? Well, the answer would be no, because sound doesn't travel in space. So if it doesn't travel, then there can be no Doppler shift or anything. Well, that would be the case of light, because if light is traveling through nothing, then how would it be retarding due to a stretching or a expanding? It just doesn't seem like it would work to me. Isn't that what the guy said? What's the guy's name you brought up yesterday or Friday? The guy that says redshift isn't what we think?
Halton Arp.
Yeah, Halton Arp.
I'm actually looking for a quote from him right now because it's so crazy. I'll find it.
So when you said that, FTFE, I was listening to that part of the show, and he says, he goes, nope, that's a lie. It's lying. He actually got removed from the places because he was causing trouble.
What?
He said.
Such a joke. Dude. Halton Arp, he had like freaking stuff named after him.
They just make some up. He was causing trouble at the telescope places, so they had to remove his right to use them. The fact that observations prove relativity, I mean, it's like, that's what you hear, right? Everything that we've ever done is proven relativity. And then you go look at the 09 or 1919 observation of the light, or Einstein's prediction that there'll be some star that would bend behind the sun. And then you actually go look at, and we've had Alan and these guys do reports on it to where it's a complete total lie. That you can go back and check the plates and they don't even match what they claim now. They're not even the same. It's the light didn't bend. It was like made up. Expanding universe, we talked about that. There is no evidence of that. They want to tell you that the universe is expanding. Everybody hears that, right? If you ask somebody, is the universe expanding? Well, of course. But their evidence of that is redshifting, and there's still greater redshift of things that are closer than farther. A lot of problems there. Dark matter, we know that's an issue because they've basically placed a mathematical hold place or a hold digit because they can't find a bunch of missing mass. So they just assigned it to something called dark matter, and then they say, well, it's something we have never observed because it can't be seen. It's invisible. So something invisible has all this extra mass? Okay. So we definitely are on the right track with that one. No, I doubt it. Coriolis, we talked about it. I grew up being told that the water goes down separate directions on the north and south hemispheres, but then you grow up and you look it up on YouTube, you might find the video of the people doing it at the equator. But again, you find out that they're all faking it, that there's by the angle of the bowl, that there is no correlation really between that. It would be too light of a effect. We talked about Stephen Hawking. We talked about SpaceX. We talked about redshifting, expanding, the spin. Yeah, just the spin again. I always laugh that they want to go to the idea of radians or rotations per day. But again, that doesn't make any difference. I mean, the Earth goes around once per day. We get that at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. And then a carousel or something like that would go much more times a day, but it's actually moving slower in linear speed. So of course they want to go to the one that helps explain why the Earth, we don't feel anything, because it's not 1,000 miles per hour. It's only one rotation a day. Yeah, but it's still moving 1,000 miles per hour. We talked about left to right comparison of images or compression. I think that I still have problems with them ever bringing up the horizon, because the horizon at this point is not a location. It's not a place that you can measure. It's always going to change. And we can see that. Basically, I see that in all those boats that are floating. Every one of those floating boats that you see is a reduced horizon due to what looks like a glassy surface. Let me just look up real quick. You just go rising boat. Oh no, what do you call it? Floating boats. They call it a Fata Morgana, I guess. Floating boats. No, not those. Let's see if we can find any. We'll look up Fata Morgana. Pato. Anybody else think of any lies? I'll check the chat. We could be good. Oh yeah, these ones. So these ones here, every one of these is a lowered horizon. Okay, there's no such thing as boats that float in the air. It is because you can actually see here, the horizon is back here. So the fact that the horizon drops, and again, these guys use horizon drop to prove curve. That's what they do. Oh, the horizon drop. It's not at our eye level. Yeah. We know that because we can see that the boat is still on the water here. It's just the horizon's back here. So if you're taking the drop away from the horizon and you're calling this the horizon and saying it dropped from our eye line, well, how do you know that? You can't even see where the real horizon is. Look at these. You can't see where the real horizon is. So somebody would go out a RUHIF for somebody, and they're going to measure the distance to this horizon, and they're going to say it dropped a certain amount, but it's actually up above here somewhere. Same thing with this boat. Same thing with this boat. These are the reason you see these is because the water is like glass. So you have like choppy water, and then it gets a little bit further away, and then it's like really still. So it's reflecting the sky, and you just get a little lost and think that, wow, I've never seen like multiple boats out there. So again, how are you going to measure the horizon if it's back here? And then if you say, okay, well, now we know today that it's not back there. How do you know that? Isn't this kind of clue that it could always be lowered from where it's supposed to be if it's lowered here? But nobody thinks that way. They want to think we can measure to the horizon and then call that Earth curve. But all these pictures prove that sometimes you cannot. And if sometimes you can't, how are you ever determining when you can? Right? It's always going to be lower than it should be. This is more of a Fata Morgana when you get this reflection inside. You can actually see the band of atmosphere. So anyway, just want to point that out, that's one of the things that they'll do is try and pretend that we can use the horizon for something. I don't see why you could do that, why you would want to do that, because it's, again, not in a known place. So I think I'm good there. Let me just check if there's any more super chats. Is it possible the sun? Okay, we read that one. What do we got here? How do they have the racetrack marked on the ocean? Just GPS. So the guys have GPS devices that would lead them to each buoy. That's what I believe. See if there's any more here. I don't know if I went too far. We got one here for your post. Globebusters come down tonight's sombrero. Yes, go check out Rico. They come on after us. We're going to be done here in a second. And so, what do you guys got coming up for next week? You want to go ahead, Zach, while I look for some more of these?
Yeah, we won't be doing a Globebusters Tech Thursday night because Thanksgiving. We're going to be having some people over and stuff like that. But we will be doing Iron Realm Media Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Friday night. It's usually a morning show, 5 a.m. Eastern. But we also do a show on Friday evening. I don't know if we have a guest for this Friday.
Right. What do you got coming up this week?
So I should be doing my next Middle Ground show tomorrow, just about geocentrism. Coin Glovers Wednesday. I think I have an interview on X. We're doing that thing on Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Is this Tuesday?
Yeah, we have a Flat Earth Social if anybody attends that. The UK get together that they have monthly. Austin and I will be presenting on Tuesday morning.
And I have, so a couple, I think like interviews or whatever, appearances, like spaces. They wanted me to come, like they want to host a space with me or whatever. A couple places I'll kind of host about that.
Where do people find out about this? Is it best if they're a Ko-fi member?
Yeah, or I try to usually post things on X as well. So people should definitely follow me on X and then join my Telegrams. I normally update there, but if you're Ko-fi, you should definitely get it. And then you also get automatic membership to my Discord, and I have it set up to where my X should automatically go through there to that. And I may set up something where it can send out email if people want that. I don't know. It's kind of annoying to me, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I've kind of always wanted the same thing. I don't think people go to that, but maybe they do. Some people might.
Sometimes I see you pop up, and like I don't open it, but I see it says like you're doing something.
Takes a lot. I don't open it. I don't open your damn emails, but
I'm just telling you.
I tried one the other day because I finally got my email server to allow me to send to the entire group. Usually they'll like restrict me or some bullshit. But anyway,
I recently started getting them from you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would be weird if I opened yours, because I don't open anything. But
right, I don't want to be.
So yeah, then maybe 2 really big shows coming up. So maybe just stay tuned for an announcement regarding that. Keeping that kind of under wraps right now.
Beautiful, a smart move because there are psychos out there that will get ahead of you.
Oh, and then tonight, maybe right now tonight, Occupy comes out. The film that Stu Peters made with Hibbler.
Oh, nice.
And it's going to be crazy epic. I think you actually sign up for locals underneath Stu, but I would say support the film. Obviously, you're also supporting Sean, but and then Kai and I made a song, and I think it's like in the credits, and I think it's just her. I think he doesn't want rap in there though, so I don't actually know if my verse in there or whatever, but pretty good. Hers is the best part anyway. And it's something about like his audience, Christian audience, freaks out over rap stuff. Anyway, and yeah, we'll just keep it there. Obviously, if you sign up, it helps a lot if you become a member, and then you'll stay updated the most efficiently there, and then in my Telegram.
Yeah, we hate to ask for that, but I mean, it's the nature of the beast. So same thing with me. I've got the VIP group, and it's going well. We've got good members there. We've got a private Telegram group, and we do get together the first and third Saturdays of the month, and we have these hangouts with members of the community. So we've had Austin, we've had Dave Weiss, Rose 777, Conspiracy Music Guru, Mark and Patricia. We've had Sov and Austin from the Mellow Dome. We've had Karen B. We've had Will Duffy. We've had Alex Stein. We've had who else do we have? Hibbler. We've had Dave Moore, allegedly Dave. So anyway, the next one coming up will be the first Saturday of December, and that will be with Austin again. Austin will be the first one coming back for round 2 with Elizabeth Acosta. So that'll be a good opportunity for people if they want to ask questions in a private setting. That'll be on Saturday, December 7th from 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So become a member. You can go to whop.com/Jeranism and sign up for that, and you get all kinds of goodies. You can see everything you get there, including the 3,000 book or ebook Telegram group. And we also do crypto classes. You don't have to attend them if you don't want to. So anyway, that will be fun to get to ask some questions of them. And if you have a question for me, we can do that on that 7th, as we'll be leaving just a couple days after that. So thank you, Austin, for doing that. It would be awesome. Like I said, Tuesday, we've got Flat Earth Social. I don't know if they've got a YouTube channel. You'd have to ask Ian, Ian Leahy is in charge of it. It's going really well. Last time I presented there was a lot of people there. It's an in-person event, and I think they increase the amount of people that are there every time, and people go there and eat, and they're really in a good mood, and they just listen to us present for a little bit and then ask questions, so that'll be fun. Tuesday. Also next week, no, that's wrong. Next week is not the first, hold on, when's the first Thursday? No, it'll be the following week. Yeah. Now I gotta check the calendar. Is the first Thursday on, would be the 30th? Or, no, nope, the next one would be the 7th. Okay, so that Speaker's Corner won't be till the 7th of December. Sorry, the 5th of December. That Thursday will be the first one. And I don't think I have anything else. We got Reef Roulette on Wednesday. And I believe that is it that I can think of. Make sure there's no more final questions and we'll get out of here. Sorry to keep you so late. We've got Dr. Bass Ackward says, I was looking at a full moon directly overhead recently and it occurred to me, I usually feel like I'm looking at the side of the moon, but it looked exactly the same as if we were directly overhead when I see the bottom. Yeah, we all see the same face of it. What do we got here anymore? Looks like that is it. So appreciate you guys coming by and watching. Appreciate those who supported. I did see a $100 super chat. I need to go find that one, or $100 what is it called? Ko-fi, but I didn't. It's not up on my list. You know, they have the activity feed. It's not on there for some reason, but I did see it go on the screen. Where do we go to find it? Yeah, if you could, because I don't know where to go look for it. I'm right here. Wait, alert activity feed. Let me just see if I open it and see if it's on there. Oh yeah, so it's from Blix for $100. Says Antarctica pocket money for Jeran. Gave Witsit the same amount earlier. Good job, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
Very cool. Not looking forward to it though. I'll tell you that much. I just now it's all hitting me like fuck. I hate the cold. So now I'm like gearing up. Like, okay, how many toe warmers do I need? How many? They have body warmers like Velcro or adhesive you can stick to your skin. Like, I'm probably need this.
So I just keep saying thank you to you guys.
Thanks a lot. You're welcome. So anyway, that is it, and we'll try and do something too as we get closer. Maybe we'll see if Elizabeth will join us for just the three of us or something. We can take some questions or something, but definitely become a VIP if you want that. And yeah, and then by the way, so all those people I told you about that the hangouts were with, Conspiracy Music Guru and Alex Stein, all these ones are all available when you become a member. So if you just become a VIP, all those are in the Telegram group. You can watch any of the old ones; they're all been recorded. Plus all my videos are there. Plus all my videos in audio form. And a big shout out to Caprice. Caprice is one that helps me with a lot of that. After I'm done, she gets the videos, does the things that need to be done, puts them in the places that they need to go. So I wouldn't be able to do this without her. So thank you, Caprice. And
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Final words. You guys, anything? I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Let me go to my notes here.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to think either if I have anything. Oh wait, what do we got here? Oh, that's Crumb. I thought I saw $300 donation, but it's just put $300 on BetMoose. You should have put Crumb. You should have put $25 on BetMoose and $300 on Globebusters. That would have been a better bet. Maybe not. We'll see what happens at the end of that bet. All right. And Witsy, you got nothing else?
No, I was reading through this PDF. It's just too long. I can't find the quote, but basically Halton Arps points out that one of the many different discrepancies he found would mean that for example, the masses would be off by something like 25,000% or something crazy.
The masses of the stars and is that what you mean?
Yeah. And
I've heard that other places too. Even Edwin Hubble had some model that was like was it Edwin Hubble or maybe it was Airy? George Airy? Did George Airy believe in stationary Earth?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, check it out.
I thought that
he made some other statements, but I can't remember what they were offhand. And then I did want to check because I do have. I want to see if it's the same.
Oh wow, Archer Dog.
Yeah, Archer Dog. He's awesome.
Rockfin. Would be great to get snow ice samples from your trip so we can toss it under a scope.
That won't
$200. $200 tip.
$200. Wow, I'm gonna have to make it happen. I heard they like check your bag when you leave the hotel. They check through your entire bags to make sure you're not bringing any little bugs or little things or something. And then same thing when you come back, you have to totally be clean, something like that. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, the observational approach to cosmology. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Earth at the center, quasars and plasma, falsifying Einstein and Hubble, the Big Bang. Maybe it's this one here. Let me see. Oh, why measuring redshifts isn't enough to understand the universe? Is this the guy that does it? There's a great article that really, by the time you read it, you're like, oh, I see why we can't use that. But basically, I don't know if it's this, but the universe isn't coarse. We take measurements. Yeah, this is not it. But again, just think about these small angles, and it seems like they've concocted a model, and then they find the things that they think fit it, and they just make sure it kind of fits into those slots, and that's what they call science, which it's not. What's this one? Is it possible that galaxies and redshift is caused by something else other than the expansion of space? Yeah, and then if you ever post that on like Quora or physics.stack exchange or something, those people they'll have your head for lunch. You're not allowed to say stuff like that. You can't even go outside the mainstream. They get so mad. This is one of those cases. But I don't see, or here, this one is. So this article is called, I'm going to put it in the chat. It's a paper written by Open Scientific Publishers. This guy is, who's the name of the writer of this? D. Rowland. Anyway, but he talks about here, as light travels extreme distances through space, its frequency slowly diminishes. It attenuates. We observe this phenomenon as a redshift, the tendency of light to drop towards the red end of the spectrum. Unfortunately, for 100 years of redshift, it has been misrepresented as a Doppler effect. This is the fundamental cosmological error that creates the fatal flaw in these misconceived hypotheses. The Big Bang Theory, expansion theory, Hubble's law, dark matter, dark energy. This study explains the true nature of redshift and provides a formula for estimating the rate at which light attenuates over extreme distances. When redshift is properly understood, it can then tell us how far light travels before it drops beneath the visible spectrum. And then he goes on talking about stars at certain distances and how the best way I've heard him describe it, and see if I can find exactly where it is. So he says here, if I don't know what that number is, receiving the X from this one, light from the falling. Now it's not a good place to remember. The light we receive from binary star systems within a distance of 8 to 90 light years regularly it alternates between being in the red and blue ranges of the spectrum. Examples of such binary systems include Alpha Centauri, Sirius, Beta Lyrae, Cygni, Procyon, Cancri, Olgol. When these binary stars are at their furthest distance from each other, we experience their light as being in the red range of the spectrum. With each pair of stars as lined up one behind the other, we observe their light as being in the blue range of the spectrum. Lined up stars generate more intense heat than either do separately, thus synergistically raising the frequency of emission from their combined light to a much higher than either star emits independently. So it talks about a century of errors. Unless one knows the frequency, this is the point. So unless one knows the frequency of light emitted at a source, there's no way to know by how much something is redshifted by the time it reaches your observer. For over 100 years, astrophysicists have not paid enough attention to the frequency at source. They falsely assume that they falsely assume that what they are witnessing are galaxies in motion and mistakenly use redshift to indicate a presumed velocity of motion. This is the logical error of circular reasoning, i.e., inadvertently including one's conclusion in the assumption, then using the assumption to prove the conclusion. If we know the frequency of light at its source, then redshift let us know how far away the source is. If there is nothing else that redshift can tell us. So it talks about Hubble's failed law, the Big Bang never happened, dark matter is zero matter, dark matter is zero energy. NASA's misinterpretation of redshift says NASA uses redshift as a measure of cosmic distance, but falsely presumes that the said distance is a function of how far a given galaxy has traveled with respect to the Milky Way since the time of the Big Bang. A typically false conclusion drawn from this presumption is that the Milky Way is heading towards the Leo constellation at a rate of 300 kilometers per second, which isn't the case. So again, this is a pretty good paper. I'll put it in the description here. You guys can read that. I think that it does a good job of explaining why you can't just assume that the red shifting that they do, because again, I can explain it on audio or sound waves in a medium, but that makes sense to me that you're stretching and you're expanding or you're condensing, but not when you're talking about light in space. That doesn't make sense to me. All right, I have nothing else. You guys are good? Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys soon. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out on Telegram, t.me/Jeranism. And that'd be the best way to get a hold of me or become a VIP. Then you're like my best friend. All right, much love to you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, I want to check just real quick. I didn't check super chats. I don't know if there's any. No. All right, we're all good. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism and the Globebusters. Till then, peace.
Peace.